We'd like to start with an invocation that's going to be given by Juan Sanchez, and Pledge of Allegiance to follow by Commissioner Pickens. Please rise if you can.
Amen. Good morning. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, first of all, we want to thank you for a new day you have given us. We're so grateful for the leaders you have placed in our community. They have such an important job keeping their office running as they should. Father, we thank you for the ways you have gifted them to support so well. Father, we pray that you wrap your arms around these men and women to show them love, grace, strength, and encouragement. Father, I pray that you provide them with the knowledge that they need to approach each situation the best way possible. Father, I pray that you help them to know you and see your presence in the work they do. Father, I pray that you give them the strength they need every day, Lord. Father, I pray that you help them daily with the decision they have to make. Father, I pray that you give them the wisdom and guidance and lead them according to your plans and your purpose. Father, I pray that you may continue to prosper in every way our people in this county and in our country. In the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez, and thank you, Commissioner Pickens. The chair will entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the minutes as stated in our agenda packet.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. I've had a request this morning to move one of the presentations up towards the top of the agenda. Some of the people that wanted to attend for that presentation couldn't be here later in the day. So we're going to move 5A up, if there's no problem from any of the commissioners to this time, and then I'll convene the Solid Waste Collection Committee. And Commissioner Goddard.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I want everyone to see this. This is our plaque that was given to us from Northeast Florida Regional Council. You want to take a picture? Very proud of what we've been doing, and they're very proud of what we've been accomplishing as far as our trails go. I wish Mr. McLean could have been here, but Ms. Guerra's going to come up and speak to us about the progress and the advantages that we have had by doing this.
Hi. Robbie Correa, 118 Dodge Street, Palatka. Yes, I'm the chair of the Palatka Trail Town Committee, and we are very excited to have been designated the 6th Florida Trail Town. What that means is basically we're a trail hub for cycling, kayaking, hiking. We've just installed, and we're going to invite everybody to come to our dedication, 2 kiosks near the clock tower on the riverfront in Palatka. And we will have that dedication, and we'll pass out the invitations to the commission, anybody else who wants to attend, on March 7th at 1:30. We also plan to have Dan Burden come into town, who's nationally, internationally known in regards to streets and planning and cycling and hiking, probably sometime in late March. And we also are trying to become a sister trail town with Putnam, Connecticut. So those are just some of the things we're working on, but we're really excited to be, or to have the designation, and it will bring a lot of folks into town that may not normally come here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Correa, can I ask you a question real quick?
Sure.
We're still one of 2 cities that are recognized as a trail town, correct?
We're now up to 10. Winter Garden was just designated.
Okay.
So they are up to They are up to 10 now, and I think there are more applicants. In fact, Gainesville is an applicant, and they're going to be reviewing their application shortly.
So I guess the important thing to realize is how fast this is growing, because a year ago, we received our designation.
Correct.
And we do have a lot of events that literally are coming through not just bicycling, but like Ms. Correa said, the kayaking has really grown legs, and hiking. So it's becoming part of our identity culturally, and from an ecotourism perspective, it's really good for us as well. So I highly encourage everybody that's not aware of the bicycle and paddling trails that we have, take a look at that. Parks and Recreation has information on their website about it if you don't know, and there's also the Bartram Trail Society.
Yep, and come see those kiosks, because those also have the map and trails on
Right.
them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Robbie, before you leave, could we get a picture, please? Right up front here.
Oh, thank you. That was 2 months ago.
Okay, thank you, and I'm going to recess at this time the Board of County Commissioners meeting, and I'm going to convene the Solid Waste Collection and Disposal District meeting. Mayor, would you come up? Mayor Peterson? We've had 4 cases that appealed the decision of the Solid Waste Adjustment Committee, and the appeal is to the Board of the Solid Waste Collection and Disposal District, which is why it was called here today. The first case is John and Carolyn Brantley, 886 North County Road 315. Yes,
Mr. McLean just came in. Could we get a picture with him before we?
sure. You want to do it right now?
I think that would be
Hey, Craig, I guess I moved it too far up. Mayors, if y'all would indulge us just for a minute. Craig came in, and we'd like to include him in a picture before he leaves. So we're going to do a redo on the pictures.
Can we object?
Can, but it'll be overruled. That's what I've learned.
Glad you can make it.
Probably said you wanted it moved up.
Would've been nice to- Oh, you got rid of minutes? Minutes, you got the deal, they sent you the minutes. You did the last one. This one was last two. Thank you. We had no secretary. Right, go back to work. So it was denied, so Mayor, they cut the application as well. Discuss it. Never that fast.
Okay, we'll move back into the agenda here for the Solid Waste Collection and Disposal District. The first case was John and Carolyn Brantley. There's a minutes of the meeting basically stated that the application was reviewed for correction and discussion ensued. Clay Davis with the Property Appraiser's Office clarified that an agreement existed with the property owner at one time to remove the assessment if the power was removed. He noted that it was subsequently discovered that this was outside of the local ordinance to allow that. So on a motion by Committeeman Hodge and seconded by Committeeman Killebrew, The committee unanimously denied the application for correction on this parcel number. So is there any questions? Are the Brantleys here? Would you like to speak? Please come forward. Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
Okay, Carolyn Brantley, 886 North County Road 315, Melrose, Florida, living in Grandin. We own 3 pieces of property there. We were living on the piece that has the assessment on it, or that has the mobile home on it. That mobile home was moved off, another one was moved on. My husband was living there. We built a house in 2013 on a different piece of property for the 3 parcels that we have. We have paid taxes, or the assessment, the garbage disposal, and all that on 2 pieces since 2013. There is 1 piece of property between the property that we are currently living on and that piece of property at the lake. That trailer is not capable of being lived in. It will have to be, it's going to be destroyed. But it has had the power removed. It has had it got struck by lightning.
Is there any questions of Ms. Brantley by the committee?
I have one, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Brantley, you said it's going to be destroyed. When will that happen?
I do not know.
That's not the answer
There
I
is
was looking
there
for.
is currently a family feud between that trailer. That trailer was given to my husband, and then his brother decided he wanted him to pay for that trailer. So we're trying to get him to move the trailer off and take the trailer and do whatever with it.
Right now, there's ceramic molds into that.
Yes, there
in
is.
there. Are you aware that you cannot use a mobile home as storage in this county?
No, I was not aware of that. So we will remove them.
Okay. I mean, that's the problem. By us doing what we're fixing to do, or we're trying to enforce our ordinances, basically, people are using these as storage units, and they're not allowed to be used as storage. They're not designed as storage, so.
Right. Well,
But
there's
it'd be nice
nobody living.
if you had pulled a demolition permit. I think it'd made our life a little bit easier, at least my decision a little bit easier, but.
Okay, so we need to pull nobody's been able to tell us exactly what we need to do. Or at
Mr.
least tell my husband that he understood.
Well, we can explain that pretty quick, couldn't we? Mr. Chairman, would you mind if?
Not at all. If you don't mind, I'm gonna go through the commissioners, and then we'll ask somebody to come up and talk about it. Commissioner Pickens?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to, what Commissioner Harvey said was that the trailer could not be used for storage, so you now understand that. But so you've had other cases, Commissioner Turner, or Chairman Turner, where there were mobile homes there that were not lived in, and they were assessed a garbage fee, correct?
It seemed like what the adjustment committee was trying to do was if it could be turned into somewhere to live without coming back in for any permits, that the solid waste adjustment, if we took it off the rolls, then basically somebody could just go hook the power back up to it, nobody would ever know, and then they wouldn't be paying the solid waste adjustment. That's why if the committee felt like, in the routine of what they were doing that day, that if it was able to be hooked back up, then it could generate the garbage.
Have the possibility to generate garbage, okay.
Right, and so I think that's what several of the cases, not just this one, I realize they're using it for storage, but they can't use it for storage. That's clearly against code. They can't store it on the property because it's not allowed to be stored on the property. Mobile homes can't just be stored wherever you want to put them at. So the only way you could get into compliance would be if you pulled a permit and put in a septic and water and all that, which you're not wanting to do, it sounds to me like. So the only option here that I can see that would prevent you from doing this, I mean, this committee could definitely not make you pay it for this year, for instance, if they feel like, but the they're almost gonna have to only give you a 1 year off and then again, and make you reapply next year for relief from this, because there's no way of knowing if it ever gets hooked up in the future.
Okay,
So that's kind of the position, and I think that's why the Solid Waste Adjustment Committee did that, that particular, and it wasn't just this one, it was quite a few of the 44 cases that we heard that day were in the same situation. They either, if they could be hooked up, but they clearly were not being used at this time. There were some of those that they allowed to take the assessment off of, but they had to reapply for relief again next year, because at any given time, they could go out and hook up power and hook up, and make the place livable, and then they would be generating the garbage. So that's, I think, the position of the Solid Waste Adjustment Committee took that day. Commissioner Rawls, did you have something?
Piggybacking on a lot of what you just said, I remember one case that we spoke about was a citizen in the Crescent City area that had like an in-law suite on her property that was not being used. It wasn't a mobile home, it was a permanent built structure. But it had the potential to be used for people to reside in, and we told her then you would have to pay on both of them. So it's a burden on the staff to have to keep track of one piece here and one piece there when you got over 35,000 residences in the county. So I personally would not be in favor of rescinding what, or going against what the committee recommended.
Does anybody have any further questions of the applicant? Okay, the chair will entertain a motion or discussion. I think I just did explain it, though. He was back there shaking his head, and if he has something to add, he's more than welcome to, but that was pretty much it in a nutshell, I believe. And I just got a thumbs up from him, so evidently he agrees, so. All right, so what is the
she
wishes
clear?
of the committee?
Are you clear on what you need to do as far as get a demo permit and have this?
yeah,
Demo?
I'm not sure where I have to apply for that, but yes.
That man right there standing up will be more than happy to help you.
Okay,
Couple doors down to your.
But
Thank
Ms.
you.
Brantley, you need to understand that even if you do pull a demo permit, it doesn't sound to me like you're thinking about demoing the trailer. You're trying to get them to move it to
well,
another.
yeah, it's gonna have to be demoed though, because it's
Yeah,
in such
so I don't
bad
know,
shape.
pulling a demo permit is not gonna automatically turn off your assessment, I wouldn't think. Will or won't? It will not. So
Okay,
I don't
but
think you
next year it would be off. If it's demoed and it's gone, next year it would be off.
That's right. If it's gone, then you need to just let somebody know, and they'll come out and look at it, and then it will come off the assessment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we uphold the Solid Waste Collection Disposal District's opinion on the Brantley case.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, motion carries. Next case is Tony Claire. The Solid Waste Adjustment Committee reviewed the application for correction, and discussion ensued. Excuse me. It was noted that the previous year it was determined that Mr. O'Clair had placed a camper on the property, which was deemed to be accessible. And it was motioned by Mr. Hodge and seconded by Mr. Killebrew that the committee unanimously denied the applications. And then I guess he had sent us a letter, Mr. O'Clair, it was included in the packet, I'm assuming that everybody had. It was a handwritten letter, and basically it said that when he moved his camper on the property, for some reason Waste Pro wouldn't pick it up. I don't know if he was paying the assessment at that time or not, but they wouldn't pick it up, so he hired somebody with a private service to come pick up his garbage. And I think, if I'm remembering this to be the correct case, the Solid Waste Adjustment Committee felt that the service was available to him, and even though he had been turned down because it was a camper, he should have come forward and proven that he had paid it or was going to pay the solid waste assessment, and he's definitely generating garbage. but there's nowhere in our code does it say that if you decide to carry your own trash off or hire somebody else to carry it off, that relieves you from paying the solid waste assessment. So I think that's where this one was with the committee. Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess my question here is, you're not really supposed to live in a motorhome on a piece of property if you're not building a home. So, I know this is uncomfortable for our audience, but we're trying to clean up an area that needs to be cleaned up, and this is part of it. So that doesn't hold water in my book, and I'm not in favor of any relief on this particular one.
Is Mr. O'Clair here today? Okay.
If that's a motion, I'll second it.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we uphold the Solid Waste Authority's and Disposal District decision on this CLERK case.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Next case would be Stephen Zahn, and basically this is two mobile homes that are on the property out off of 19 on the Caravelle property. It's on Caravelle Road. You're gonna have to give them to her, Mr. Zahn. I think we have some pictures of them, but I'll let you speak in just a minute, if you'll give me just a minute. Basically, it's two mobile homes, I think, and he sent us a letter and for this meeting that basically said that he's got two mobile homes, he moved them on the property, the state owns the land surrounding it, and they wouldn't let him bring power into the properties, and so they basically sat there for a few years. One of the things that the Solid Waste Adjustment Committee is that we had no evidence to show that they weren't hooked up. We had no evidence to show that there wasn't a septic tank. We had no evidence showing any of this stuff. And so basically, with the evidence that was presented to us that day, the only thing we could do is say there's definitely two units there. We don't know if they're generating wet waste or not, but they can't just be stored on the property, because that wasn't our purview that day, but that's part of it. And so we had no evidence showing that these weren't being used. And so that's where we came up with the decision on these two properties that day. Yes, sir, Mr. Zahn. Would you give your name and address for the record?
Yep, it's Stephen Zahn, 180 and 150 Caravelle Ranch are the properties in discussion today. And I'd like to thank each and every one of you for your service.
Thank you.
I truly mean that. I purchased these properties about 15 years ago when I lived down at Brown's Landing. I don't live there any longer. I pulled some permits for the mobile homes. I bought some used single-wide mobile homes. I pulled the permits. I hired a contractor. They brought them out. They set them up. I never pulled the certificate of occupancy due to the fact that I couldn't get the electric. There was no septics. The permits were pulled, but as you can see on your record, that there was no septics put in. There was no wells put in. On your records. And I've never stayed a single night in any one of those mobile homes. There's no electric. They're kind of buried in the woods now. The woods have grown up around them. And I've been back and forth with Tim Parker about this over the years, because I've been hit with the assessment quite a few years, and then it was taken off and put back on. And I actually even spoke to Tim as late as this morning on the phone, and Tim said that it's up to you folks to find, to look into whether or not the septic permits were filled out and done by a septic company and so on and so forth. All I can do is stand before you and tell you that, if you dig into the records, you'll find that there was no certificate of occupancy ever on any of those, no electric run. Therefore, in the future, there would be no plugging in after the fact, because there's the nearest power lines probably 2 miles from here, from any one of these locations. I was in the process of getting it, and I had to hold all the land surveyed. And what had happened was, when I turned the surveys into the state of Florida, FWC, they said they wanted me to go underground for those 3 miles instead of overhead, and that nixed the whole project at that point. They didn't have 10 feet of underground wire there, but they wanted mine underground. I think it was purposely done to stop development on those 2 pieces, and that's exactly what did happen. It stopped right then and there. I couldn't afford to do that, so that's where I'm at. I've been paid quite a few years into that solid waste. It's adding up into the thousands of dollars now, and that's why I'm standing before you to tell you that I think it's totally unfair I'm getting assessed with these fees. I'm not here to cheap out on my taxes or anything, but what's fair is fair, and what's not fair is not fair. And this isn't fair that I'm being assessed on these fees.
Commissioner Goddard?
Yes. So when you moved those out there, you pulled permits and moved those out there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At the same time, are you being denied that you cannot put in a well or a septic tank?
No, I actually, with that permit that I pulled from the county here, there was there's a part of that form back then anyways, one for the certified septic guy to fill out and install, and then fill it out for me to turn in, so that going towards a certificate of occupancy. The other one would be for the electric company to give me something saying that I have electric there, and the other one would be from a well driller to drill a well. I would have to got paperwork from him. All that paperwork turned into the county would have gotten me the certificate of occupancy.
Correct. So you could have put in a well, you could have put in a septic tank.
I could have.
Your problem is the power, which you could have put a generator out there. So that house could have been livable. And that's my thing. Why haven't you just, if you're not going to live in them, why don't you move them off the property?
It costs a lot of money to get them
Yes, sir,
there.
it does,
And it'll
but-
cost even more to get them off, and just, they're not visible, they're not bothering anybody, any neighboring properties.
I understand where you're coming from.
But just to be
we-
taxed.
We have to deal with state law. We have state law, we have county law. Actually, most of our laws are the state law.
Yes, sir.
State law says that that mobile home is a livable structure. That is what it was manufactured for, that's what the use of it is.
Yes, sir.
That's where this solid waste bill comes into. You could have put in a well, you could have put in a septic tank, and you could put a generator out there, and that could be a livable site. Or you have the option to take it off of there.
But-
So I understand where you're coming from. I understand that you couldn't get your power out there, so you stopped. But these, our directions are pretty clear. That home is a livable structure, and somebody could be living in that right now today. They can put in a well, they can put in a septic tank, and they can put in a generator. So that could be a livable
Not
structure.
without a permit.
And they're not going to allow you to have a permit for what reason?
I mean, I would have to apply for a
You'd have to
permit
apply
to do
for it,
that.
right. But
But
it
to
could
use,
be. If I were to get those from you, I literally could put in a well, a septic tank, and a generator and be living in that house if I wanted to. So that's the part that's tough for us to make a decision on. I understand where you're coming from, but I'm
Yeah,
just
but-
saying that's tough for us to make a decision on when you could have done these, you could have done that, and you could have moved those off of that property.
But you would know if I did. I could have gotten all those things done, yes. But to use the solid waste management or whatever fee as leverage because I could have done that is not acceptable, I don't
You're
believe.
calling it leverage, it's not leverage, that's
It's-
just a law. It's just a law. It's a law that's equal across the nation. I mean, it's just a law. But nonetheless, it seems unfair to you, but the facts are you could have done these things, you didn't do those things. The mobile home by itself is a structure that was manufactured for someone to live in. So therefore, that kicks up the problem that you have, that generates a solid waste bill.
Right, but there was no certificate of occupancy. At what point do you take someone's property and start assessing this tax on.
Be honest with you, the minute that thing hit that property, it's a livable mobile home. Therefore, that's what kicked up and generates a solid waste bill.
I think solid waste is for garbage, and I haven't generated in 15 years that much garbage that went to the dump.
Yes, sir, but that's.
Not even that much. And to
I
get-
got it.
to
I
pay
understand.
thousands of
You can be
dollars-
paying taxes for roads and never drive a car on it. The
Let
fact
me
I
are,
understand.
try to intervene here just a minute and try to get this moving along. I'd just soon it not turn into a debate. Commissioner Rawls.
You know, the first case we heard was extremely similar to your case. You've got an unoccupied mobile home with no electricity. I don't think I need to tell you which way I'm leaning in my vote. I think the sooner you get those mobile homes off the property, the better off the county will be. You're running the risk of having vagrants move in there. I don't know when the last time somebody visited the property, but we're trying to clean our county up and not have it used as a storage lot for empty mobile homes or houses if at all possible. So I would encourage you to get the mobile homes off the property sooner or later, rather than continue to pay the $330 a year in taxes, put that money to work to remove them, and this goes away instantly. But I'd make a motion, if a motion is in order. I'm sorry. Okay.
If you give me a minute, Commissioner, I'm gonna let everybody finish speaking first, if you don't mind. Yes, Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Commissioner Rawls. You know, I feel your pain. I hate to say it, but unfortunately, you got yourself in another bad situation. And now you've got two mobile homes that you're standing before us telling us they're not hooked up to anything, and you've heard that you're not allowed to park mobile homes on property. So now you're gonna be getting probably some type of looked at by codes enforcement because of that. And we've tried to tell people before they came to us that these are the situations that are going to happen.
I agree with you that the
But
code.
hang on, let me finish my story. Commissioner Rawls is right. It's not just isolated to a few cases. You heard Commissioner Turner, our chairman, speak over 40-some-odd cases came that day. That's a lot. We're trying to clean this county up. And those two mobile homes, I know your intention was good. I'm sorry you couldn't get power there. I'm sorry all that happened to you. But to be honest with you, your best scenario is to get those mobile homes off that property, sell them, have vacant land, and get your property reassessed and not ever worry about this one more time. Because we don't assess vacant land for waste disposal. Doesn't happen. But I can't go along with that, and that's going to be the end of my comments. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Commissioner Rawls?
I'd make a motion that we follow the recommendation of the committee and deny this application.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, point of clarification, is that on both both pieces?
Yes.
Okay, thank
I
you.
think we need to do them one at
Do
a
it one
time,
at a
don't
time.
we, Rich? Yeah, we need to do them one at a time.
Okay.
So if you would take the first case, which would be 150 Caravelle Farms Road, and we'll apply that motion to that if that's
I'll
the
second that
pleasure of the
motion.
commission. And with that being said, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, ayes have it, motion carries. And then the chair will entertain a motion on 180 Caravelle Farms Road, the other one.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that on 180 Caravelle Road, that we deny the applicant's request for reversal of the decision of the committee.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Zahn. You also turned in a blue card. Did you want to speak during participation, or? Gonna have
No, I
another-
said I guess everything.
All right.
But thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all the cases to come before us today, so I'm going to adjourn the solid waste collection and disposal district, and I'm going to take a 5-minute recess to get everything shuffled around before we start back with the Board of County Commission meeting.
Control of the budget, so the board will have to approve the actual resolution on that. But yes, this would be accepting the 100,000 from Rotary Club.
Okay, do you need a motion on that from one of us? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Do you need a motion on each one of them? or-
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we need a motion on item C, which is the memorandum of understanding.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move the memorandum of understanding that's being presented to us today on Project Play.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item number D, to accept the fund budget addition of the $100,000. I need a motion on that.
Mr. Chairman, let me make a motion.
Have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a
Can I
second.
state the motion?
Yes.
Sir?
I'd like to state that we gladly accept the $100,000 that's being given to the Port Authority on behalf of Project Play,
I agree.
thankfully.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Rawls, and the second applies.
Yes, second
Okay,
applies.
we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Is there anyone that would like to speak under general discussion on Port Authority items?
Mr. Chairman, I do. I have
Okay.
something. Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. We have discussed about the conversations with the nursing homes. How have we moved that forward, staff? Have we had any conversations about reaching out to those nursing homes about selling that property?
Yes, Mr. Castleberry and I reached out to the owners of those, or the leasees of those properties, and we've had some general conversation, and there is going to be further conversation related to whether or not they want to continue with discussion of lease or purchase that property. We broached the subject as the commissioners had directed. They're interested in either of those options, so we'll need to further discuss that with them. And they're also going to be getting them some information related to some of the concerns that's been written in the paper lately. We want to make sure that everything is good.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And Mr. Chairman, while we're still under discussion for the port, I'd like to give an update to the commission. You asked us to reach out to St. John Shipbuilders on a potential lease of that second property out there. Mr. Reynolds and Ms. Young and myself met with them last Friday to have a discussion with them at their facility. I think it went really well. We relayed the direction of the commission, and so we'll be working with them further to come back to you folks with what we hope to be a viable option in the near future. They're very much aware of what it is that we're looking for and seeking, and let them know that as soon as they're ready to move forward, we'll get them on a workshop to come in and discuss the opportunity with the Board of Commissioners.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay, is there any other items under general discussion or any other business to come before the port at this time? Hearing none, I'm going to reconvene the Board of County Commissioners meeting at this time, adjourn the port and reconvene the Board of County Commissioners meeting. And we'll go to item 5B. Ivan Kasami, close enough? No. Missed it, didn't I?
It's Cosimi.
Cosimi.
Kind of like Go See Me. So thank you very much for having me here this morning, Commissioners. I'm Ivan Cosimi. I'm the CEO of SMA Healthcare. I'm here with my partner in crime, Nancy Russo, who is our Vice President of Putnam County Services. And we'd like to go through just a presentation kind of talking about our organization and talking specifically about behavioral health as it relates to Putnam County. So as you know, and we're going to get this going.
There you are.
Are we there? There we go.
I'm not used to this version. Yes.
That's good. All right. So that was the first challenge right there. So we got that one. Good. So everybody, I've been with the organization for 25 years at SMA. I was the CFO, and recently, when I say recently, the last 5 years I've been the CEO of the organization. It's an organization I'm proud to be a part of, and we do so many good things, and today I hopefully give you that picture. Behavioral health, as you know, is substance use disorders and mental health. Those two things kind of combined are what we're in the business of doing, and that's probably something that we find very noble, and we serve over 26,000 folks every single year. So we know we make an impact. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the big picture of behavioral health first, because I think it's important to provide a backdrop of what it is that what it is our challenges are as it comes to these issues. First, 49th is where Florida ranks in terms of funding. So 49th per capita spend on an individual for dealing with their behavioral health concerns. And just to give you a kind of an idea, this chart here kind of shows you where Florida is ranked. I believe it's Idaho is a little bit worse than us, but Florida just has notoriously not invested in behavioral health treatment, and yeah, that continues today. And this chart here kind of gives you that, kind of shows you a nice little graph there of how funding and population growth, those two things combined, how we've actually seen a decrease in the amount of spend for these particular issues over the last 20 years. And, you know, I put this little graphic up there not to make everybody chuckle, but the system is really funded by turkeys, and you guys know about turkeys. They're special projects that are kind of filling the gaps for getting treatment. So you'll see me come before this body every year, for example, asking for funding for the FACT team for Putnam County. It's funded by a non-recurring state legislative item, and I have to come here every year and beg to get that refunded every year. The entire system is funded that way, especially over the last 10 years where there's been this not a very big appetite to fund these particular services. So let me tell you a little bit about the concerns in Putnam County, and I'll start with the suicide rate. When you look at the suicide rate for Putnam County, it's at 29.7 per 1,000. And you can see it's significantly over the Florida rate. So we know we got that going on. Here's a graphic that kind of shows you that with the 10 leading, it's the 10th leading cause of death in the USA, suicide. And our overdose death rate is tracking right along with the state rate in Putnam County. And I'll just tell you that that whole issue has taken a little bit of a dip down this year, but it's still significantly alarming. This one is a shocker to me. This is the opioid prescriptions rate per 1,000, and Putnam County is ranked #1 in the state of Florida. So there's a lot of folks getting a lot of these prescriptions, which ends up leading to addiction, which ends up leading to having service providers like us. When we looked at the Department of Health community health assessment priorities this year, and for the next 5 years, actually, you could see where we rank. You could see that addiction is right up there as far as the county health priorities. So we have a role here, and as I mentioned, you know, the reason why I mentioned funding, I think it just gives you the backdrop for how we've divided our services up, and we've kind of come to a regional approach to things. Rather than have a CSU, Crisis Stabilization Unit, in every single place that we're at, we've had to regionalize our approach. So there's many places where we've regionalized things. Things like a detox center is regional. It's a regional approach. Things like residential treatment, that's a regional approach. And that's mainly because of funding. It's mainly because we've had to kind of shrink our footprint over the years. But it's not all bad news. In Putnam County, you can see we've done a really good job, I believe. In 2012, we actually began services here in Putnam County when we took over Putnam St. John's Behavioral Health, which was a failing nonprofit at that point in time. In 2017, because of the funding, and we had to restructure, we had to close the residential and detox center. But in 2018, you could see all the new programs that we actually added. We added a CTTU, we expanded mental health counseling in schools. We're going to be opening a drop-in center, that's actually 2020. And we've begun some MAT services, and we've also expanded some other things. So we're constantly looking, and if you looked at how we were funded, it's a patchwork of different grants and you know, whatever state funding we can get to fund the services. So I'll just kind of go, actually, you want to talk a couple minutes about some of the services that we offer on our campus?
So a lot of the services we do in conjunction with the agencies in the area. So like our Family Intervention Services and Family Intensive Treatment Team, that's in partnership with DCF and CPC. It's for families that may have a substance abuse disorder. We go in, we assess it, and we recommend treatment. And then for the Family Intensive Treatment Team, that's more for if somebody is getting their children removed or they're trying to reunite the family, we provide intensive services for that. And then we already talked about the CTTU a couple of weeks ago and how that's in collaboration with the law enforcement agencies in the area. And our Adult Drop-In Center, that has been a county project between the City of Palatka, the Putnam County Commission, and SMA, and everyone should have gotten their invitation to the open house on March 19th. What did I do? Back. And then just the other services that we provide, we have been able to go into the school systems and provide mental health counseling at 4 of the middle and high schools. And we have Zero Suicide, which helps out with hospital discharges for people who are hospitalized for suicidal ideation. We also help out in the jail for anybody who might have suicidal ideation. And then our mental health first aid and CIT helps train the community on how to deal with mental health and substance abuse disordered individuals. And then our newly opioid use disorder, where we've been able to start a MAT program, medication assisted treatment, 1 day a week for the county through a grant through HRSA.
Yeah, and you'll notice that the color coding on these charts means something, actually, whether they're funded by the state, a local project, or through the federal government. So all those items in red are actually federal grants that we had recently been awarded. Again, with our regional services, these are things that are funded for all the residents in the 4 counties we serve. And so we've got that regional approach going. Just in terms of who we're serving in Putnam County, these are the 5 top diagnoses of people that we are serving. You can see we're dealing with depressive disorders, bipolar disorders, and mainly serious mental illness. So that's kind of our specialty there. There's a lot of folks that don't want to deal with the population that we deal with, and we do. And then in terms of our primary substance use disorders that we're treating, you could see methamphetamine and the opiates, so the 2 big things that we're dealing with. Last year we served approximately 3,000 folks in Putnam County. See the services that we provided. In terms of the value of services, I meant nearly 2,000 folks in Putnam County, but about $3 million worth of services that we've rendered. And you can see where we've actually provided those services, whether it be through screening and assessment, outpatient and case management, or residential and CSU. So about 1,600 clients served last year, 24,000 services delivered, and the value of the services about $3 million. And so what's next for SMA in Putnam County? These are some of the things that we're working on. The expansion of our CTTU to include adolescents, which I believe we've already done that, right? Or we're getting close to that. A creation of a MAT outpatient clinic. MAT outpatient is medication assisted treatment. And so this is actually getting our therapists or peers into the hospitals and linking people who overdose, linking them right into treatment, get them out of that cycle. And just anything else, any other funding mechanism that we can find to bring services to Putnam County, we're on it. So if you guys know of anything, please let us know, because we are all about trying to increase those served. So that's our overview for Putnam County. Wanted to make sure that you guys knew that we are very invigorated by the services that we provide here. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you, Mr. Cassimi. Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your presentation, greatly appreciated. Disturbing on page 6 of your presentation of the opioid prescription that were done in 2017, that is 34 counties listed there, not 67. So how would we rank with the other counties? I don't know.
That information wasn't on the Frost website. I pulled that all from
Okay.
where they track it.
The other question is, on page 100 of your presentation, no, that's page 11, sorry, you didn't have that many pages. It looks like on the top right-hand corner, the 5 primary substance of use, and I can't pronounce the word
Allotted.
dilaudid, okay, that would be your opioids, wouldn't that? So that's 18%. It seems like we have a high number of people using opioids, but not that many are needing services for that. But is there something else that our doctors could do instead of issuing opioids? And I'm just thinking out loud, maybe other counties have more access to healthcare than we do, and maybe transportation is easier for these people to get. I don't know the correlation. I'm trying to piece it together.
Yeah, well, just in terms of the chart itself and just talking through that, these are, when folks come into treatment, we ask them what's your primary substance of choice. And so, you get sort of a mixed bag. And what we know as professionals in the field is that it's really all of them, So I don't get too hung up on, is it 20%, is it 50%, it's a problem, right? And so, but you bring up a great point about the access to medication-assisted treatment, specifically for folks that are dealing with an opioid addiction. That's hard to get that's hard to get out there and to find treating providers. There's a special thing called an X waiver that providers have to have in order to provide those medication-assisted treatments and therapies. And there's a little hoop in Washington that you have to jump through, and they don't make it easy to prescribe those medication-assisted treatment therapies. It's way easier to do the opioid treatment. There's no limit on that. There's just let go of the reins on that one, and it has been that way for years. Now recently they've said, okay, we want to track it, so that was a good step. But in terms of the treatments for it, that's slow to come around, and just getting all the folks who can provide that treatment, it takes time to get them through the Washington hoops.
Well, I want to thank y'all for what you've done. I served as the chairman of the committee for many years, and I tell you, it's a joy to see you here and for the work that you do in Putnam County. And I wish we could do a lot more. No doubt there's needs out there, but I appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Rawls.
I was writing notes as you were talking. So the first one that I wrote was, you said there was 26,000 services offered early on your slides. Then you said that nationally, Florida's 49th in the nation. So is there a way, maybe working through the Small County Coalition or through a lobbyist, that the counties can get together and petition Tallahassee to put more effort and more dollars into the state? Are y'all currently doing that? Are we participating in that? What can we do?
That's sort of my job. 100% of my job is lobbying Tallahassee, pulling in my lobbyists and others that are in the field to march on Tallahassee. But the weird thing at the state level is you can get that, as I mentioned, that turkey out there, and then you got to fight for that turkey, and it could be years and years and years that I'm continuing to fight for one program, and so I can't really make the full push and the full effort on, hey, we got a problem here, let's turn on the spigots a little bit.
How do we, are there other counties that are looking to get involved, or can we form a coalition and
Yeah, I think so. I mean, our state trade association, which is about 60 behavioral health providers across the state, we're all in the same boat, so we're all pushing together. But if you think of another forum that I should be talking to and pulling resources from, I'm all ears.
I'd encourage you to talk to Chris Doolan at the Small County Coalition and
Okay.
see, especially, because I'm sure that we're not the only small county that's
No,
having this issue.
right.
Can you talk about how much money we're already spending on mental health and substance abuse issues by not having in-county treatment facilities?
I'm not sure exactly.
In other words, when the sheriff's department responds to
Yeah.
a house and somebody's in mental crisis, and they have to dedicate law enforcement time, potentially arrest somebody, incarcerate somebody, how much money are we already spending? Because we don't want to spend any money on this issue. That's the rhetorical question.
Yeah, that is a good, I don't know how you put a price tag on that, but we've had, the cheap approaches to, instead of having brick and mortar there, programs like the TTU, which is the Crisis Treatment and Triage Unit, where we could step in and intervene and do that transport out of the county into these
But I mean, what if we
regional
had it in the
places.
county? That's where I'm going is, if maybe it would be helpful to, at least to me as a commissioner, if you could quantify how much money we're already spending, and if we reshuffle that money, not new dollars, you spending the same dollars, but focus it in a different area, if it could have more meaningful results, because you talked about with the MAT program, you have 1 day a week. So does that mean a person goes in there and gets a prescription for 6 more days, or are they getting, so they're getting 6 days, they have to come back on the 7th day to get, okay?
And what he was speaking to earlier about all the hoops, because our provider is the first-year provider, she can only treat 30 people. So it's a rolling 30, so if some fall out, then we can accept more. She can go for a waiver to get more. I think it's up to like 50 or 100. And then after so many years, you're unlimited.
50, just say you had 50, out of how many do you think? How many do you think would need that service in Putnam County right now as we speak?
Probably 150.
So what can we do to help? That's going to be the question I keep asking. In 2017, of the counties listed, we had the most number of prescriptions written. Where would we be today? How do we get that information to see where we are today compared to the rest of the state with opioid prescriptions being written?
I keep checking the Frost website to see if they have updated since 2017. So as soon as I get that data, I can bring it.
And when you look at number 2 on the list was methamphetamines, and that's the elephant in the room, because you can wean somebody off opioids successfully, but there's a really high recidivism rate with meth. Is there anything that's being done in other counties, especially, the more rural you are, the harder it is to control? Are there things that we can employ here that we're not employing, or that we can encourage, support, or fund that would help reverse those numbers?
I would say right now, the hot topic is all the folks dying from the opioid crisis, and so that the funding from the federal government, the funding from state government has really been to attack that issue. As a trade association, we have been telling them, hey, just so you know, here's what's on the radar. Methamphetamines are it's spiking now too. And so we've been able to convince the government to give us some flexibility in the use of the funds, and so that it's not only for opioids. Up to now, it's been opioids only. Do not offer other services with these dollars, kind of thing. What we've been told is that sometime in October we'll get a ruling that'll open up for all drugs, regardless of whether they're opioids or not.
If people in here are not aware, there was a news article, the federal government, aware of a super lab that was discovered in Mexico, where they're synthesizing methamphetamines, and they can make it a lot faster and a lot cheaper, and it's already a cheap drug, which is just going to exacerbate the problem. So, I've talked about it in the past, and I think we really need to sit down, and it probably would be helpful for you guys and for our county to have a summit of some kind to discuss the possibility of getting employers on board to strategize and come up with a solution to start getting people to work that have the substance abuse problems, dealing with them, but not just ignoring it, and getting people back in the workforce, because I think that is going to be a productive step in the right direction. And what is, with the legalization of marijuana, what are y'all noticing with that? Is there an uptick in usage? Is it going down? I'm just curious personally.
Yeah, you probably have a better read on that.
Unfortunately, I think we almost stopped monitoring that because of who has a medical prescription. Is it going to become recreational? So it's kind of, we're looking at more of the hardcore right now.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Good job.
Thank you for coming today.
All right, thank you guys. Take care.
Our next presentation will be done by Bo Brewer. Good morning. Would you like to give your certificate first or after? Okay.
I'm going to steal 30 seconds. I know Ivan and Nancy, and I've worked behind the scenes with SMA for many years. I knew Reverend Marchman. Ivan's not a clinician, he's a CPA, and I've worked behind the scenes. Every dollar he gets, he stretches as far as can be. He wouldn't give a nickel to watch the Lord ride a bicycle.
Thank you.
He's a brilliant CEO, and his staff, they don't make a lot of money. Their clinical outcomes are incredible. I don't know how they do what they do with as little as they have. And that behavioral health is this monster that we kind of don't like to look at. And there are prominent, well-known people who are clients of theirs who have successful recovery. So it's not just the down and out, it's people like you and me that they're serving. So any dollar you get to these folks is well spent.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, my role here as the new chairman of the Better Place Oversight Committee is to present your report. So, per Section 8 of the Ordinance 2015-5, the committee shall prepare and present to the board a report on projects, including a summary of the financing undertaken and funds expended at the reporting date. Such report shall be given within 150 days after the end of each fiscal year and shall include audited financial data as appropriate. This report satisfies the requirements listed above as required by the ordinance, and you all have that in your agenda packets. I just wanted to report that it was nice working with you all. We got together and kind of hit the reset button on what this committee does and does not do. As is often the case with committees, you get mission creep, and I think people lose sight of what the role is, and maybe moreover, what the role isn't. And so we are just an oversight committee. We do not make decisions and we don't approve. And I think there was some confusion there, and I'm glad that we were able to meet and clear that up. I'm going to start each meeting that we have by restating what our objective is to keep the meetings a bit more on track. And they are just keeping it within the confines of roads, infrastructure, transportation, recreation, quality of life, environment, economic development, public facilities, vehicles, and equipment. And I think that if we structure our meetings that way and have this for everybody, it will remind us what our job is to make sure that merely it's within the confines of what we were chartered to do. I'm going to ask our committee to shift the dates a bit so that we meet during your budgeting process, so that it's more on the front end, and then shift some so that it's during the execution of that budget, and then the closing out and preparation of the report. So obviously I would need the approval of the rest of the committee. So I'll be asking for that with, hopefully with y'all's blessing, make the dates a bit more relevant to the timing of your budgeting and the execution thereof. That's everything I think I'm required to do, but what I would like to do is ask Ms. Shirley to come forward. Commissioner Pickens asked me to be on this committee, and I did, and then Ms. Shirley Griffin has been the chair for Lord knows how long, and I'm going to read it. And they asked me to be chairman at our December meeting, but I asked her if she'd be my vice chairman. But I'd like to thank you all for this certificate. The Putnam County Board of County Commissioners Certificate of Recognition presented to Ms. Shirley Griffin an appreciation for her years of dedicated service as chairman and vice chairman of the Better Place Plan Oversight Committee this 25th day of February 2020. The Board of Commissioners signed by them.
Thank
So, thank you.
Thank you to all. I enjoy working for Putnam County. I was born and raised in this county, and Jim and I have been married for a long time. We raised our family in Orlando, but when we had a chance to retire, we came back. We came to here and retired, and I enjoy it. That's all I can say. It's just lovely to be here and try to do things for Putnam County. I never was in politics in Orlando. Was too busy raising family and working. But it's been such a pleasure, my 15 or 16 years here. It's just been, I've had my finger in anything I can get it in. So it's been wonderful, and thank all of you for standing behind me, and my husband, Jim, especially him. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Commissioner Pickens.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, Ms. Shirley, just want to thank you so much for all your service with representing the town of Pomona Park on this committee, and also what you do with the Neighborhood Watch in Pomona Park, and what y'all have done with the town's Better Place Plan money, like, you know, yeah, repairing the community center and things like that. And also, Mr. Brewer, thank you for serving on this committee and stepping up to chair. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Could there be a stipulation with this, and that is that Ms. Shirley has to continue bringing her persimmon cakes at the end of every year and hand out to the committee? So as long as that's a condition, then that's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Thank you. Before y'all sit down, we'd like to have a photo.
Yeah. He was such a photo type of guy. Very photogenic.
Balance us out there. I didn't get one when I ended it. That's close.
Okay, thank you, Bo, and thank you, Shirley. Appreciate y'all. Next, we're gonna ask Scott Modisette to come up from Summit. He's gonna give us a update on the housing CDBG program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Scott Modisette. I'm with Summit Professional Services. I'm here today to give you an update on your Community Development Block Grant Housing Rehabilitation Program. We held a homeowners meeting on November 15th to discuss homeowner application process and the program requirements. We had over 20 homeowners in attendance at that meeting. Since the meeting, we received 32 homeowner applications in response. Of those 32 applications, 12 did not qualify for the program. We had 3 applicants that earned above the income threshold, 3 applicants that had outstanding property taxes, 2 applicants that did not provide all required documentation, and 4 applicants that lived outside the unincorporated county limits of Putnam County. All applicants have been contacted to request additional information or to notify them that their application was incomplete. The remaining 20 applicants were scored and ranked based on Appendix A of the county's Standard Housing Assistance Plan, and the point system has been included in your packets. First, we ask that any commission members publicly disclose any business or familial relationships with any of the ranked applicants listed. We didn't have any of the applicants indicate that they were related to any of the members of the Citizen Advisory Task Force or to members of the commission. But if you do see anybody on there that you might have a business or familial relationship with, I'm going to ask at the end of my presentation that you do disclose that relationship. The CDBG budget for housing rehabilitation and demo replacement is $622,500, and we've allocated $15,000 for temporary relocation. The obligation under the grant is to complete 11 low-income households. 5 housing units will be addressed whose occupants qualify as very low income. And of these 5, 2 housing units will be addressed whose occupants qualify as extremely low income. We would be looking at completing those houses by the grant expiration date of January 31st, 2022. For reference, I've given you the HUD 2019 income limits that show you the basis for selection of the homeowners. In addition, Putnam County has dedicated $50,000 from the Putnam County SHIP program for housing rehabilitation activities. Mobile homes and manufactured homes are ineligible, and homeowners who received SHIP assistance previously are ineligible. The maximum assistance per eligible housing unit is $34,500. Initial housing rehabilitation inspections will be conducted next week upon approval of the ranking list. A site-specific environmental review is being performed on each housing unit, with historical approval requested on 7 housing units that are 50 years old or older. Lead-based paint testing is done on any homes constructed prior to 1978 that will be rehabilitated, and each property will also be inspected for non-structural code violations. Local contractors are being solicited from a list of qualified general contractors from a previous CDBG program, as well as solicitation to minority contractors. Ad soliciting licensed general and residential contractors and manufactured home dealers were placed in the Palatka Daily News. Lead-based paint contractors were solicited from a list of contractors that Summit has worked with previously in the county and in other communities on CDBG housing rehabilitation programs. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them today. Again, first action I'd be asking is if you could take a look at that applicant ranking list. Let us know if you have any relationships with any of the people listed on the ranking list. And then I'd be asking that you adopt the attached ranking list so we can proceed with inspections of the property following today's commission meeting.
Does anybody have anybody to recognize on the list?
I have none.
I have none.
I have none.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the list.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the attached applicant list dated February 25th, 2020 for the county's FFY 2018 CDBG Housing Rehabilitation Program.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate your
I
time.
have a question if I can.
Yes, sir.
2004 Westover Drive is right on the corner here. It says historic approval required. That's not in a historic district. I'm just curious as to what.
The house is older than 50 years old. Any homes over 50 years old are required to get historic preservation approval.
Really?
Yes, sir.
70% of our housing in
Yes,
in
sir.
Putnam County is probably that.
Yes, sir.
That's crazy.
Any homes over 50 years old.
Wow.
You good?
I'm good.
All right, thank you.
I'm not
Thank you all.
understanding why.
Thank you, Scott. Next on our list of presentations, Julianne Young is going to give us a project update. For anybody that wants to look at these, we have it on our website also, if you'd like to review, because she's going to go through it fairly quickly. So if anybody wants to study it, the actual paper is on the county's website now. Thank you, Ms. Young.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm going to give my brief disclaimer, and that is this monthly project list is not intended to be an all-inclusive list of all projects or initiatives undertaken by county department heads. This is a list or a recap of major projects of major concern to either commissioners, administration, and or the citizens. The updated list for this month has already been posted to the website and has also been emailed out to each of you as of this morning as soon as the details were finalized. You'll notice on that list, if you look at it either online or in your email, that the status updates from the month prior to this month, the status changes are in bold, underlined purple ink, because I like purple. You know, that helps. I will briefly go down them. Administration is undergoing a strategic planning session. The employee survey closed out yesterday. The next steps will be to hold a one-day employee workshop to operationalize the plan. Administration is also undergoing the census. Commissioner Harvey is leading the census committee. They have met and discussed plans to disseminate the information and to launch various PR campaigns through a variety of avenues and local events. The next committee meeting is on March 5th, 2020 at 5:30 in this room. The Animal Control Facility, the Site Selection Committee made recommendations to the BOCC. From their recommendations, a site selection was finalized. We are now awaiting conceptual designs / recommendations and needs assessments from the Animal Advisory Board. The libraries, Melrose Library expansion, the association has partnered with the county and is moving forward with the design of a new roof and expansion to the Melrose Library. The bid for construction is expected to be ready in June of 2020. Parks and Recreation had construction in Veterans Park. That project is complete as of today. The park will be reopened. We will discuss this afternoon a ribbon cutting date, good for you all, and a grand reopening for that park. Port Authority and Parks and Recreation as the project play / splash pad. Construction is in progress and on schedule. Estimated completion is by or before April 30th. Parks and Recreation is installing 2 new courts, volleyball beach courts. We have officially broken ground. They are under construction and it is estimated to be complete by March 30th, just in time for our girls' beach sand volleyball season. Parks and Recreation has a derelict vessel removal going out. The bid award is on the consent agenda today. Following that award, work will begin immediately to remove 2 derelict vessels from the St. Johns River waterways. Georgetown Park is still ongoing. Mr. Gerard and Mr. Bernstein are working on those surveys and informations to present back to the BOCC. Parks and Recreation is working with the Flora Home Park Historic Building. The county has completed the removal of the concrete slab as agreed, and the Flora Home Historic Association is in the process of raising funds to begin completing clubhouse renovations out there. The comprehensive plan underway by the Planning Department. The update and analysis of the background data is almost complete. The stakeholder meetings are being held. The next stakeholder meeting was set yesterday. It has been scheduled for March 5th, 2020 in Melrose at the Melrose Center, and it will be live on the meeting event will be posted to our Facebook page so that we can try to get some additional public input. Planning and the Citizen Serve online permitting. The contract for services has been executed and we will move into the implementation phase for that project. Public Works has construction on the County Road 207A bridge over Dog Branch Creek. It is estimated to be complete in July. Public Works has dirt to pave construction going on. Roads completed as of today include Marlin Road, Browns Hammock Road, and Clifton Road. Roads currently under construction are Riverside Way, Dunn Avenue, and San Jose Avenue. Roads that are staged for construction and it will commence immediately will be Mill Street and Walt McCormick. There are several others that will phase in immediately following that. The entire project will be complete in July. Public Works has the Main Street sidewalk construction, which will go in Crescent City Main Street. The bid award is on the consent agenda today. Work will begin following that formal award. Public Works has Fort Gates Ferry Landing. Mr. Roberts is leading that. The FDEP permit revision was done successfully. The Army Corps of Engineers permit revision is still pending. Pile load calculations are needed for FDOT, also still pending. Ashley Lake Phase 1 is complete. Ashley Lake Phase 2 is estimated to be complete in August. Public Work Barden Bridge, the design phase has began and is scheduled to be completed by May of 2020. GIS mapping, the Public Works Department is still piloting various devices and working to train end users on proper usage of that, and then they will implement them out on all devices, on all units. The Boys Ranch Pipe Culvert replacement project is under construction and the project is estimated to be complete by the end of March. Lake Susan Road Phase 2, the construction is scheduled to begin in December of 2020 and the project completion date has been moved up to June of 2022. St. John's Avenue resurfacing Palm to CSX crossing at the Palatka Fire Station. Construction is scheduled to begin in January of 2021 and again the project completion date has been moved up to June of 2022. Public Works has the fiscal year 20 road resurfacing project out. The bid is on the street. It will close in March and we expect to bring you an award in April and work will begin immediately following that formal award. Public Works has an East Palatka wastewater treatment plant expansion, Horse Landing Road and Elsie Drive. The main lines are being installed and the individual tie-ins are underway. This is scheduled to be complete by October of 2020. Public Works has a relatively new project, septic to sewer conversion, also in the Horse Landing and Elsie Drive area. Public Works hosted a community informational meeting and sign up. We had approximately 89 residents that have committed to the conversion. Public Works has submitted the funding application to St. Johns River Water Management District. The grant funds are expected to be approximately $1.275 million. This is a competitive grant with surrounding counties, and we expect to hear the outcome in April of 2020. The sanitation department has cell 4A construction expansion underway. Rank order for the designer has been established by the evaluation committee, and that recommendation will be presented to the BOCC for formal acceptance at the March 10th meeting. And construction is still expected to begin in the third quarter of 2020 and will take about 6 months. If you have any questions or concerns, like to see any additional information, please let me know.
I got a question.
Ms. Young, yeah, go right ahead.
What time is the meeting in Melrose next week?
Yes, sir. That meeting for the Melrose planning is at 5. Help me out, Mike. 6 o'clock.
6 p.m.
I apologize. It will be on Facebook this afternoon, though.
All right, so
You can share it.
I hope we can get these out a little sooner and give people more time to prepare, because these are very important meetings, these stakeholder meetings. The last one had less than 5 people from the public attend, and the complaint was there was no notice given and no advertisement. So I hope we do better on this one and get more of a turnout. Are we not going to have another one in this area since the first one was failed?
I could find out about that and follow up with you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Okay.
6 p.m.
Next, we're going to move into public comment. This portion of the agenda is designed to allow citizens an opportunity to bring matters to the attention of the board. It is not reasonable to expect that the board will engage in debate or deliberation about matters on which the board has received no prior information as of the agenda. Please limit yourself to 3 minutes. Public comment cards are conveniently placed at the meeting room entrance and should be submitted to the deputy clerk with her hand up over here to my left, who sits to your right on the podium. First speaker today is going to be Mr. Wayne McLean.
Wayne McLean, 285 West River Road, Palatka, Florida. I'm here today representing the Putnam County Chamber of Commerce, and I wanted to report to commissioners that the Chamber of Commerce has decided that we have not done the best job possible in the past in updating the commission on the activities of the chamber. So beginning this year, representatives from the Chamber Board will be attending once a month the commission meeting during public comment to update the commission on what is happening at the chamber. And to that end, this first update is I wanted to hand out a report on the 2 recent bass tournaments that took place here in Putnam County, the economic impact of both tournaments. These surveys were done by independent sources, not by the chamber, and on the Fishing League Worldwide, it was a $1.2 million impact to our community, and for the Bass Elite, it was $1.1 million. In addition, if on ESPN Sunday, they had an excellent program about the Bass Elite program and showcased Putnam County very well. In addition, there's 2 basketball tournaments coming up, 5 golf tournaments, as well as a number of other community activities. The Chamber has applied for a USDA grant for a business incubator study program for Putnam County. From this study, we'll be able to reasonably then go out offer other monies to help increase businesses, specifically in the downtown Palatka area. In addition, next month at the commission meeting, we're going to update you on Madison Street Strategies, which is the company the Chamber has employed to help us with opportunities on zone management in Putnam County, which will offer significant tax incentives for investors investing in Putnam County. Again, I want to thank the Commission for their service to the community, and we'll be back next month. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Wayne, in the future, would you like to be under presentations, or do you want to just stay under public comment?
It's the wish of the Commission.
Okay, if you're planning on coming every month, is it going to be the second meeting of every month like this one?
Probably the first. We did attend the City Commission meeting and the Palatka City Commission and the Crescent City, the first one. We just didn't, I think the fishing tournaments caused us a delay in coming to the county.
Okay. Laura, would you please put him under presentations on the first meeting of every month and, for an update?
And it either be myself, Derek Embry, or Charlie Douglas.
Yes, sir, whoever you want to send.
All right, thank you very much.
You have something, Commissioner Rawls, did you?
Is that an assumption?
Oh, I thought I heard you say something.
So I got nothing.
All
right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Wayne. Okay, next speaker will be Nicole Grace with Keep Putnam Beautiful.
Good morning, Nicole Grace, 115 Red Fox Trail, Palatka, Florida 32177. I'm going to be very brief. If you have been on Facebook recently, you may have noticed that we've started advertising for the Great American Cleanup. Our countywide cleanup is going to be March 14th this year. It is all over the county, and we're trying a little new strategy of showcasing each area. I know that neighborhoods have put out their own flyers, but we're doing badges that showcase that neighborhood, and even 207A, because that's what they want it to be called. So the 207A area, I've got Interlachen, Barden, Bostwick. I actually got a request for Hollister as well, so that's going to be new for us. I hope Daniel's okay with adding that on. Crescent City, Pomona Park, San Mateo. So we've got these out there, and the response to those on Facebook has been pretty incredible. It's certainly a lot of pride, because it's something that, they can go ahead and, say, hey, look. So I think I got over 300 clicks on it for Barden, which I don't know how many people are in Barden, but I know that's hitting a few of them.
The mayor of Barden's back there if you want to ask him.
I tried to go all the way to the end of the road, and I had to turn back because it got kind of sandy. But it's going to be from 8 o'clock until noon. We've got our cleanups at the boat ramps, everything all at once. So any help, or if you could share the information, I'd be grateful. And this is kind of also to let the community at large know that I'm going to be coming to all the meetings and talking about it. So thank you very much. And just to call the office if anybody has any questions. I'm on Facebook. Stop me at Publix. I'm at Walmart too, so I'm a pretty equal opportunity shopper. But 386-325-9598. I have to look at it when I read it. So,
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next speaker will be Douglas Hayes.
Hi, my name is Douglas Hayes, 216 Hilltop Avenue, Satsuma, candidate for County Commissioner, District 3. Before you put the timer on me, I wanted to reiterate. Okay, well, the timer's gone. Well, then, anyway, I'd like to reiterate in regards to funding mechanisms for your parks. To do a continuance to other parks is to develop a Friends of, and that would be a nonprofit fundraiser. The second thing is in regards to our mental health and drug issues. The outfit that's performing services is outstanding. Money is an issue. I would like to promote the idea, once again, have a fundraiser with the focus that those monies would be used locally. And then their regional plan, with us being in the center of the populace, is to persuade that the world can come to us and we can have bigger facilities to justify, to provide for our needs. Now, I'm here today to let you know that I've been trying to join the team. I've applied for several positions. My forte is dogs, animals, animal services. I've applied approximately a year ago for the supervisor of the kennel facility. And somehow magically, because I did a paper application, it was overlooked. I've applied for other positions where I felt that I would be an asset. And again, I've applied for the animal control officer, the kennel cleaner, and it was when I was bypassed out of 5 candidates. I asked the supervisor for an update, and it was presented to me that I was denied employment because I was running for county commissioner. That is against the Equal Opportunity Employment Act of 1871. It's also, if you look at the same government website provider for employment of Jacksonville, that the Equal Opportunity Employment Commission set forth to the Department directive dated March 14th, 2016, that political affiliation is a protected class. You've been put on notice. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. Next speaker,
Thank you.
Chris Luther.
Chris Luther, 118 Eagle Nest Court. So I ain't got much time, so I'll get right at it. January 7th, my neighbor at 116 Eagle Nest Court had what we call a widowmaker. I'm a paramedic and a firefighter. I worked for Putnam County Fire Rescue from 2012 to 2015. I now work for St. Johns County Fire Rescue. I've been a resident here my entire life other than an active duty tour in the United States Navy. Back to the point, my neighbor had a heart attack. I was eating lunch at Muscle White's and his wife called me. I left Muscle White's, came home, didn't drive code 3 into my F-150 pickup, but I beat everyone. I walked in the house. The symptoms she told me on the phone, I knew he was having a legitimate heart attack. I walked in and comes to find out he was. So the issue is here, the dispatch was at 12:19 and the first ALS unit to get on scene was 14 minutes. 2003, my house burned down. Since then, there's been one ambulance added in this county. I mean, it's 2020. We're overtaxing the service. They're doing interfacility transports, volunteers. I love them. You know, I mean, some of the best people in the world, but they are that. You know, a paid service is what we're going to. You know, the county's growing. It's not getting any smaller. Luckily, my neighbor, paramedics got on scene 14 minutes later. I helped them do interventions. He got to the hospital. He went on a cruise last week. So, you know, he's good. But just the issue at hand is just, you know, there's some really good people who work here. They're getting overtaxed. They need help. I understand money is a big problem here, but you can't put a price on a life. You know, if my neighbor hadn't called me and he would have went into cardiac arrest, it would have been 14 minutes for a ALS unit to get on scene. His wife was sporadic. She's not going to do good CPR. If that was the case, my neighbor would be dead today. Well, I can't speculate, but I'm just saying I don't have any answers. I don't know, you know, I don't know what can be done, but I live next to him, and my mother lives 1.0 mile away, you know. They've transported my mother before. The people here are great. The issue is not the people. They have great workers. I worked with them. You know, I miss them to death, but I don't know what needs to be done to get more ambulances, more ALS, or even BLS fire trucks. I mean, we have one in Satsuma. The unit that transported Mike was Rescue 83 from Satsuma, and they were dispatched upon giving a report to a nurse in Putnam Community Medical Center. So they were transported, or dispatched from Putnam Hospital to there. So either way, I know I'm out of time, but I just figured that was an issue that needed to be really, really looked at, because it's pretty scary. You know, my wife lives next door. My mom lives a mile away.
Thank you. Commissioner Rawls.
Chris, is it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is a topic that needs to be talked about sooner than later.
Yes, sir.
I personally am in favor of impaneling a Blue Ribbon Committee immediately to look into this. I don't think that we need to study this. I don't think we need any outside consultant at this point. And every day that goes by, this is going to be more and more a reality. I received a letter, as did the other commissioners, indicating that we had lost 5 more people from rescue. And there is a solution. The solution is going to require the citizens of this community to get together, agree to fund the service at an appropriate level. The volunteers have said that they're extremely contrite. They're willing to do whatever it takes, cooperating with the paid service, have a combined service. Everybody has indicated they're willing to come to the table. So at this point, it falls on this commission to pick up the ball and run with it.
Yes, sir.
As one commissioner, I'm ready to run. I'm ready to run this thing as fast as we can. I think we need to get citizens involved to start having meaningful meetings and discussing options and possibilities, and funding has to be one of them, because right now there is no funding. And the other day, there was a house fire in East Palatka. When I was leaving Corky Bell Sunday, I saw a tanker going in front of Corky Bell's. I saw one going over the bridge. I was at my office 30 minutes later when one came down Krill Avenue dragging a fire hose of all things. And I called fire control to let them know whoever was driving that needs to stop and pull their fire hose in. But in all seriousness, we had engines responding from all over to go to that one fire. There is a hydrant system in East Palatka. They could have done a shuttle, but still, you need the manpower as much as you need the equipment, and you need the volunteers as much as you need the paid. So
Yes,
we're in a quagmire. I'm ready to fight.
Now with you, Ladder 5, a station I work at, Ladder
There you
5
go.
was second due on scene to a fire in Putnam County.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And, I mean, it's just multiple times we've had to rescue 8 downtown Palatka. I mean, again, I don't know the fix for it. I mean, it should be something that we looked at. I mean, that's pretty scary, man. It's life safety here, you know. You can't put a price on it, so.
Thank you for your service. Go
Thank
Navy.
you. Thank you. Thank y'all.
Thank you for coming. Next speaker's Ted Schneider.
Thank you for the opportunity. What provoked me to be here was an article was in the PDN on Saturday indicating that the commissioners' meeting today was going to be addressing, perhaps the way I construed the article was priorities as to expenditures and so forth in the BPP. That was actually highlighted. That was the headline. Anyway, I know Mr. Brewer commented as to the mission of the BPP, and I don't know whether this would be the time or the forum to bring this to your attention, but my name is Ted Schneider, and I live in 125 River Road, which is in Satsuma, and a little community called Saratoga Harbor. And it's off of Hamilton Road, off of 309. And we have 2 earthen dams that are causeways, that are called causeways, that traverse our properties. And there's water that goes beneath them that divides some lakes and go out into the harbor, to St. Johns River. And these earthen dams have been defined as what they call high hazard dams by the EPA, meaning there are 100 of these type of dams in the state of Florida. And there's a lady named Tracy Woods who is in charge of the safety dam director in Tallahassee, who informed us of this, and that we must have what we call an EAP, Emergency Action Plan. Well, I brought this to the attention of Mr. Reynolds, who is basically the liaison, is my point of contact, because I am chairing from our homeowners association. I am chairing a committee that we created to address this concern. And so I just wanted to make the board aware that there's going to have to be appropriations to provide in this EAP that's mandatory an evacuation route that may carry a concomitant obligation that we have some roads paved and some drainage put in to make that accessible, so that in the event we have a breach of one of these 2 dams, it'll be a cascading effect, much like what happened at the Twin Towers. And it would result in people being, basically an inundation study is also being required, which is basically something that FEMA can, by application of a grant, can be obtained, which would be a financial benefit to the county. As I understand, I know you're inundated with unexpected expenses with county roads, as has been in the newspaper recently with the bridges going over some of our county roads. And so now I'm bringing up this, which is another going to be an expenditure to provide an emergency evacuation route. And as I said, Mr. Reynolds and Mr. Suggs and Mr. Nimitz, we've already had one meeting, and we're in the process of working this out. And I don't want to bog you down with these details. I just wanted to be before the board to let you know that there's going to be an expenditure, whether it's from the BPP or another source, I don't know. That's not my prerogative to apply for that. I just wanted you be aware that there is going to be such a thing coming down the pike that's going to require an evacuation route and perhaps some other costs too that have yet to be delineated through the EAP. And I'm also working currently with, and actually through Mr. Reynolds, Mr. Simpson's on board, Mr. Rame, and so forth. These are all emergency preparedness procedures that would have to be, would fall in line with probably the incident command system or something to that effect. So I just want, basically that's all I have to say, and I realize my time has expired, and I believe I made my point.
Thank you, Commissioner
Okay,
Rawls.
if there's any questions, I'd be happy to.
Mr. Snyder,
Yes,
you
yes,
said
sir.
that this is an unfunded mandate?
No, it's an
Or is there any
yeah,
funding?
this mandate is an unfunded mandate, that's correct. It's a mandate that's being, it's expected to be funded by evidently the county. Now, I will say this, that Mrs. Woods, who is the lady I mentioned earlier, she will be here on the 22nd. She's going to be, and her entourage of various people that are working with the EPA are going to be here to not only look at the dams, but the following day at the St. Johns River Water Management District building, they're going to be holding a full-day workshop on the 23rd. And I will get that information more specifically to Mr. Reynolds, and it could be distributed to you all in the event you want to attend. It is open to the public. And at that point, that could be better addressed from what I understand.
What is the timeline that they're discussing to have the EAP in place?
Well, we were notified of this back in May of last year, okay, inviting us to go to a seminar. And as this thing has developed through the course of last year, it has become evident that this is, they're telling us what we have to do. Basically, it's a obligation, it's a mandated thing in the event because of the fact that all residents, regardless of whether they're members of our association or not, that are south of those two dirt causeways would be landlocked and isolated. And we have some people that have special needs, and they have a definition of special needs. As you well know, they're compromised physically or whatever, medically or whatever. And so there's about 40 or so of these residents that would be stranded in the event of a breach. Now, one thing, I am making a proactive effort to get everybody into the notification system through the county in the event we can be proactive and get the word out to evacuate prior to a breach. But when a dam breaches, it breaches. I mean,
Right.
it's sort of like an alternator in a car. When it goes, and you're stuck. So the evacuation route is mandatory, and it would be a county obligation to install that evacuation route. I have made some suggestions as to looking at the topography of our area to Mr. Reynolds that has to be yet as part of our workshops that are ongoing. And I would defer to Mr. Reynolds to address that, and Mr. Suggs as well, who was at our meeting. And I want to also take a minute to thank Commissioner Pickens for facilitating all of this, that he's been very helpful and very responsive to our requests to get this resolved.
Okay, thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
I'd like to discuss that in a transportation workshop, please.
Thank you for your time, gentlemen.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you.
Where we know what's going on, especially if it's gonna be an issue that's gonna hit us.
Yeah.
That may hit us or whatever, so I'd like to discuss it. If we don't get time today, we'll add it on the next one if we need to talk about it. Thank you. Next in line, the next speaker is Ed Shaleep.
Salepi.
358 East River Road. I'm here more for business and not personal. We have a lot of paving companies coming through town. It happens every winter. I'm wondering why the county and the cities don't require an asphalt permit when you're gonna overlay existing property. There is no permit required. So you don't know if you have a insured company doing it. You don't know if the guys have insurance on their trucks. You don't have any way to go back and get anything. They're here for a month, they change their phone number, they're on to the next neighborhood. They don't stay in your hotels here, they just kind of go where they want. I'm not looking to pave everything in this town. You know, we're busy. I just want everybody protected. We've seen it happen. We travel. We do Walmarts in 6 states. You know, we travel a lot. But we get permits. We show our insurance. So, you know, if you're having your driveway done and they drive over your septic tank while they're parked on the side of the road, they're gone. You have nothing. Simple permit. You know, nothing fancy. No, don't make it a headache. You know, do $1,000 or $100 permit for every $5,000. You know, cap it out.
at $1,000 permit, you know, something simple, the contractor can eat the costs. You know, I can't believe I'm sitting here as a contractor wanting a permit, but it's something, it's a protection. You know, I've been here 6 years, that's it, you know, but we enjoy living here, we enjoy working around here. Just want to see people protected. People are getting jobs done. You know, they have great salesmen that come around. You know, we have leftover asphalt, we have this, we have that. Well, don't anybody buy leftover asphalt, okay? It's garbage. You don't want it, you don't, you know, it doesn't hold up. I just want, if there's a way you can do a little permit, at least somebody knows if there's a, you know, damage done to your neighbor's property or something else, at least there's somebody to go to that you showed we had insurance to take care of it, that's all. That's it. My 30 minutes was short.
So I'm confused. Are you talking about the individual owner-operators of the vehicles?
They all work as independents for these gypsy companies. Yeah. I passed 4 vehicles on East River Road the other day. Not one dump truck had a license plate. My dump trucks all have license plates. Those plates cost me, you know, $1,000 a year. These guys don't have anything. One truck was out of Michigan, one was out of Iowa, 2 were out of West Virginia. You know, they're just, we call them gypsies. They show up, they do what they want.
I don't have a clue who would regulate that.
Well, if you have an inspector that sees them in town, you know, normally any other county or state, they charge like a double or a triple permit fee. I mean, you have to get a shed permit in this.
Right.
I mean, wouldn't you want to know that your parking lot or your driveway was put in right?
So you're saying this would be a building department responsibility, okay.
Streets and highways in some counties, I don't know you know, but it's a way to create revenue too. You
I know that when you build a new residence, you have to get a driveway permit, and that
For the
addresses
culvert.
how you handle
For the culvert.
Right, the part that, well, the driveway that touches the road, whether it's culvert or not. I mean, I think that would be more something Mr. Siafi would have to handle if that was an issue. It's revenue, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, there's parking lots all in it, you know, businesses all through Palatka. They're getting, you know, these little driveways, you know, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 done. Nobody's you know, if you did $100, you know, you probably given up $20,000 worth of permits just this season alone.
Wow.
I understand what you're saying, I really do. But even if we do put a level of compliance in there, like a permitting or whatever, you've actually got to go out and catch them. It doesn't make them pull the permit. It makes them go.
Absolutely.
You got to
Absolutely.
catch them. So it'd be pretty hard to catch them gypsy guys that come in here and spray your,
You're not trying to
spray
catch
your
them,
stuff
but your
black
tax
and with-
man,
yeah,
your
do
tax
what?
man next year, every year drives around and see if there's improvement, if he sees new.
Once every 5 years, yeah. They only have to visit
He's by
once every
himself.
5 years. I'm not saying I don't feel your pain, I'm a contractor too, but I don't know that that's gonna fix what you're asking us to do is gonna fix that. I just don't know. Yes,
Okay.
Commissioner Harvey?
No, you answered you asked my
Okay.
So, I mean, I understand, but I just don't see how even putting a permit on there is gonna fix it, or charging the homeowner double for the permit cause the gypsies left town. That ain't fair, sorry, it's just not. They got took by the gypsy and you wanna charge them a double permit? That ain't fair. So,
Research.
you know,
do
a way to.
research on everything.
If I could figure out how to do what you're doing, like Commissioner Rawls said, I don't know who would really do that, because I really don't, but.
Okay.
I
All right.
appreciate you
Thank you.
bringing it to our attention. I wish there was some magic wand we could wave to fix it, but I don't know there is. Next speaker's Clue Wright.
Good morning, Commissioners. Clue Wright, President, Local 3529, P.O. Box 1918. I want to touch a little bit about on the fire rescue side. With all the open positions that we have in the county, I believe the state of fire rescue service within our county is in disarray and at a boiling point. So why would I suggest that? Seems like to me the staff or management ever confide in you and tell you the real crisis that we are facing. One shift alone has 10 open positions, which is half of the shift. This is not including other openings or budgeted positions and approved positions that we have. The health and safety of the community is suffering at the hands of poor management. Chief Ramey cannot run a department with no staff to help him. He has suggested time and time and again that he needs help, and yet someone is turning the other cheek and doing nothing. There are so many open positions within the county, I can't believe things are getting done. The fire marshal and fire inspector positions have been advertised since June of 2019, and no interviews have been made to fill these positions. We have 2 battalion chiefs. We have 1 battalion chief position, 2 captains, 3 lieutenants, 7 firefighters. We have EMT positions, firefighter, paramedic positions, 6 budgeted positions opened on Rescue 89 that's not being filled. Chief Remain needs help. He needs operations chiefs. He needs them on the fire side, needs them on the EMS side. We need training chiefs. We need better logistics chiefs. A good fire chief can work tirelessly on behalf of subordinates with the organization and the mission for so long. And it must be the county's saying, as was the Romans, we keep you alive to serve the ship, so row well and live. Toxic situations can create situations that erodes, disables, and destroys their targets, whether they are career or volunteer firefighters. And I'll give you some signs of some toxic organizations. High turnover, low pay, failure to accomplish tasks, unproductive and meaningless work, destructive and counterproductive, general dissatisfaction with current organizations. If an organization lacks the mechanism for holding would-be toxic situations at bay, then anyone prone to toxic leadership would have the advantage. Toxic situations will indeed become an institutional cancer that will be hard to cure and overcome. Your Putnam County Fire Rescue personnel and volunteers answer to calls 24/7. Our ranks have thinned even when the threats to public safety have grown. Fewer firefighters, EMTs, and paramedics with less experience with longer working hours. Answering more calls puts you in a danger recipe and our safety at risk. Understaffed, underpaid, overworked, and fewer firefighters, EMT, and paramedics with causing increasing and outrageous inter-facility transfers. The safety of Putnam County depends on the ability to hire new people and keep our best on the job. We are nothing but a training ground for other departments, and since 2005, well over 130 people has left. So how come we can't keep our employees here? Forced overtime, inter-facility transfers, low pay, low morale, leadership, rank structures not being filled, secretaries making more than firefighter paramedics, and 3 different departments ran by 3 different shifts. We work hard every day to continue to do more with less, and we are stretched thin, and no one seems to care. The county policies and priorities have left our department overworked, undervalued, and heading for the exit, and the citizens are the ones that's paying the price. Thank you.
Thank you, Clue. Commissioner Rawls.
Mr. Wright, Mr. Wright, I can assure you, you're absolutely incorrect that nobody doesn't care. This commissioner cares. So I understand that I sit in a tub with other people, but personally speaking, I care, and I am ready to tackle this. I've been ready for over a year. All I can tell you to do is get your citizens involved at this point.
Well, it's at a boiling point, and it needs to, we can't wait on no survey. It needs to be we need something done.
I understand that. I agree with you. I think that we need to quit wasting time with senseless studies, quit wasting tax dollars, but I'm 1 of 5.
Well, Commissioner Rawls, I think you have that on the agenda for this afternoon for discussion. I think that's probably what we're gonna discuss this afternoon.
Okay.
But I realize you have a firefighter background. I don't.
Right. I have a servant.
I understand, but I've got to have somebody help me out here because I want to do it once and do it right. That's what I want. Now, that's just me, 1 of 5 commissioners. But I don't have the background to be able to redo the whole fire department and EMS and everything else, and restructure or whatever needs to be done and make it better. I don't have that background. So I need to have somebody and bring them in here, a consultant, somebody that knows what they're doing. And we can certainly discuss it this afternoon if you want to try to talk me into a different path. We've already voted to do that. We've already reached out. So, you know,
I don't think
maybe it's not the right way to
I don't think
go.
there'd be any harm in getting something started now with public input and, and paneling a group of citizens, getting stakeholders to the table to start having a conversation now. A consultant can bring in their ideas and pitch that to them as well, and it can all be tossed around. But every week it seems like what's been ignored for a long time is coming to the forefront more and more often, and it's becoming glaringly obvious that our responsibility is not being met as commissioners to provide public safety at a safe level. And at some point, someone else is going to die, someone else is going to get hurt, somebody's house is going to burn down that has a lot larger mouthpiece than us, and they're going to hire an attorney, and they're going to take us to task, and I just don't want to see that happen.
Okay, well, we can talk about it again tomorrow, to this afternoon. Next speaker is, please, come on, guys, we're trying to have some control here. We are looking into it, we are investigating it, we're doing our very best, and we are moving forward. This commission voted to hire a consultant, a third-party consultant, that they've reached out to look for people that do that. The people that do it have many questions. It's not as easy as just saying, hey, can you come in here next Thursday and do this? We'll get an update on that this afternoon also, but basically, that's where it is. So it's not like we're not trying. I sent Clue a letter. I'm gonna give y'all a copy of it this afternoon. I can't do it except when we're in a meeting, because it'd be a sunshine violation, but I can talk about it in this meeting. And it basically said that I'm looking into the transfers and moving people around deal. And as soon as I get the actual figures on what it is, because that has to be part of the conversation. It can't just be we don't want to do it anymore. It doesn't matter what it costs. We got to know that as part of the conversation. So those figures are real close to being available. I think they're close enough for discussion at this point even, so I was gonna bring that up also at your,
That's a great idea.
this afternoon. The other thing is the third-party deal. Commission voted. Unless the commission votes to change that strategy, then we need to let the staff continue on with the strategy that they voted, that this commission voted on. And it doesn't, it's the government, sorry, it doesn't happen in a week around here. Nothing happens in a week.
Right.
I believe if you broke your foot, it wouldn't swell up in a week. So anyhow, next speaker is Sandra Kirby.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I just moved here from North Carolina.
Congratulations.
I picked this county, I picked this area for a lot of reasons. I moved from the richest county in North Carolina to the poorest county in Florida. I will not be a part of a problem, I'll be a part of a solution.
There you go.
I am stunned by what I just heard from Mr. Wright. I'm here just to talk about that, but I'm here to tell you that because we don't have the excellent fire protection that we need and should have as residents of Florida, it is now insurance rates are going to go up significantly. I just bought fire and wind hurricane insurance. Because I live in Satsuma, the rules are that if you live 5 miles from a fire station or more, your insurance rates go up. It's costing me at least $400 more per year. I was shocked. Really, we live 4.1 mile from the Satsuma Fire Department according to my GPS. But that doesn't work because the numbers come from the county to the insurance commissioners, and that's how it is set, whether I'm 5 miles, 4.9 miles, it's now 5 miles according to them. So what we all don't understand that, we have a huge safety issue here, but it's gonna hit everybody's pocketbook because it's just started. That is what I was told by 2 different insurance agencies, that it is just now creeping in. A lot of people have their insurance escrowed. They may not notice it. The people who pay outright are going to notice it because they're going to pay 1 check. Please, what can I do to help you get us fire protection?
I'd like to answer that.
Sure, go ahead.
Talk to your fellow citizens and let them know that at some point in time, we're going to have to fund this thing. And the participation level right now in our tax base is inadequate enough to do that. So I talked to Mr. Reynolds recently about looking at a right-of-way fee. Is there any progress on that front?
Are you referring to?
The right-of-way
The-
utility?
Right. I haven't had a chance to speak with Mr. Commando about it yet, but we can discuss it this
I would
afternoon.
light a fire under that rocket and get it going, but at some point, we're going to have to figure out where to get the money from. And
This is a beautiful county.
It is, but people are afraid to use the word fee or tax in the same sentence as public, and we need the public to step up and fund this. So,
Well, Commissioner, I don't know that afraid is the correct word. I'm a conservative Republican, and I don't believe in expanding taxes or expanding fees. But I don't think it's afraid.
well, no,
I damn sure ain't afraid of much.
well, we
Well,
need
who's
to.
gonna do the
I wasn't
CPR?
looking for a response for you, by the way, but thank you for owning that. But no, in all seriousness, the public needs to do its part in deciding how much of an appetite it has for a fire rescue service and then paying for it, because right now it's not. Some of the other things that the fire rescue service is suffering from is lack of volunteerism. That's nationally, there's nothing, that's generational, there's nothing we can do that, but that would be a step in the right direction. And then the other part of it, we can handle internally with respect to building morale and more of a team concept, but the funding has got to happen in order to stop the bleed.
The positions that Mr. Wright talked about, are those volunteer positions or paid positions? Paid. Volunteers won't help you there. Okay, we got to look for some money.
We realize there's some problems with fire. Believe me, we realize it. But I didn't realize it until a few months ago.
Did you realize that your insurance is going to go up if you don't have adequate?
Yes, ma'am, I understand, but a fire station costs $1.3 million is what the one in East Palatka costs. So while I would love to build 10 more of them all over the county and be able to staff them, it all comes down to the money, like Commissioner Rawls said. And so,
Well, isn't that all a part of the big package that's going to attract more people to move here?
Absolutely.
it is part of the package, I would agree with you.
Just like
yes,
our school system, our crime rate and all that, it all equates into
all
the
part of
demographics.
it, yes. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Sign up for that committee that's coming to you real soon.
Bart Myro. Okay. Sorry, I butchered your name too. Miro? Myro, okay, yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Bartolome Miro.
He lives, I'm gonna speak for him. I'm his wife. We live in 16925 Southeast 23rd Avenue in Summerfield, Florida. That's Marion County. And I recently moved over here to St. Augustine to take care of my dad, 84-year-old dad. He has dementia. And I recently purchased a lot in East Palatka on Granada Street. He purchased one, wait.
113?
Yeah, he purchased one in 113, which is the case, 113 Fifth Avenue in East Palatka. And I'm gonna read this. This is in reference to that lien on that lot that he recently purchased. Unfortunately for me, I was not aware of a lien held by the county on this property. I paid $3,000 for the land plus the back taxes of $800. I bought that land to help put a simple home for my 83-year-old father-in-law from Puerto Rico. I cannot.
Okay, ma'am, I think that you're talking about a code enforcement case?
Yes,
Yeah,
sorry, we are very rookie
We're
about
gonna hear
this.
that later on, so if you would just wait till then to speak about it, that would.
Oh, sure.
I mean, you can continue if you'd like at this point, but we're not really discussing that case at this time.
Oh, but that's
We're
his
gonna do
case.
it after the consent agenda.
Okay,
So-
but I'm not quite
We're
sure.
we're gonna call this case in a little bit.
Again, okay.
Yeah, but,
Perfect.
okay, thank
Okay,
you.
we'll do it later.
I appreciate
Okay.
it, thank you.
Took us a minute to figure out what was going on. I guess they thought they needed to speak during public comment, so, not on the code enforcement, so. Okay, I'm out of blue cards now, so I'm gonna close the, public comment portion of the meeting. And, I'm going to open the consent agenda for discussion. Does anyone wish to pull anything from the consent agenda? Mr. Pickens?
I have none.
Mr. Harvey?
Item D.
Item D. Commissioner Goddard?
I have none.
Commissioner Rawls?
I had D, but Mr. Hervey's already got it, so I know it good.
Okay, so, and I have none. So, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda minus item D.
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of item A, B, C, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, and M.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Item D, Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I'd like to call President Pickens up from St. John's River State College, and the HR Director. And I think you're going to be enthused about some information.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity, Commissioner, and I've not done this last couple of times I was here, so one of our District Board of Trustees members, Brian Keith, is here working the room, but I just wanted to thank him for his service and the sheriff for the understanding that the time it takes to volunteer to help the college. So I had a meeting that Commissioner Harvey initiated last week about whether or not we had students that could intern in some capacity within county government. I agreed to go to Tallahassee to a Council of Presidents meeting and find out what my colleagues were doing. And Larry agreed to discuss among his colleagues in other counties what they were doing. And then I noticed, because Larry forwarded to me, that this contract was on the consent agenda for today, and so I asked him to pull it. So I wanted to comment that Commissioner Harvey, because of the extra work that he was willing to do in pursuing this, has made the college better. He's made the experience that our students are going to have going forward in all three counties better. And I hope that he has certainly improved the possibility of experiences for our students by taking the extra time. So the fact of the matter is that the college, all colleges, receive a pretty significant amount of federal work study money each year that we use to pay student workers. The vast majority of those workers work within the college community, and that's rightfully so. But as I learned in exploring this, after Commissioner Harvey took the time to meet with me, that at least 7% of our federal work study dollars have to be used on students working within federal, state, or local public agencies, certain private, nonprofit, or for-profit organizations, off-campus federal work study jobs with federal, state, or local public agencies or private nonprofit organizations must be in the public interest, and we're also supposed to bear in mind the interests of the student. So, the answer to Commissioner Harvey's question of me a week ago is not only do we have students that can intern within county government, we can pay them. And we have a certain number of students that we're required to. I'm sorry that Mayor Peterson left, because one of the other things we're required to do is place at least one student tutor within the community, and so Middleton Birney has a student tutor that we are paying with federal work study money. I brought Ginger Stokes with me because she's the Associate Vice President for Human Resources. She's been with the college quite a while and has worked her way up from a benefits coordinator all the way through the HR department to now be the senior management person in charge of HR. And I wanted her to explain two things. I wanted her to explain the process very quickly, and I wanted at least County Administrator Suggs to put a face with a name, because she's the person that would coordinate any request, whether it came from the county or whether it came from the clerk's office or the tax assessor. I made the mayor aware of Palatka, aware of this opportunity yesterday, and I'm going to speak to others, but this is an opportunity that I'm now aware of and that we are going to initiate because of the extra efforts of Commissioner Harvey. And so I wanted to thank him for that, and then also get the ball rolling in the process of doing it. May not happen until the semester, the fall semester, but it's going to happen. And it's going to happen because Commissioner Harvey went the extra mile. So thank you, Ginger.
Thank you.
Good morning, thank you. So the Federal Work Study Program, as President Pickens described, is an opportunity for us to partner with our service district. We've been doing this for as long as we've received financial aid from the federal government. Typically, we've placed our students in libraries and middle and elementary schools to be reading and math tutors. But we do have the ability to serve any of our public governmental agencies, and this particular contract that you've pulled is specific to our emergency operations here in Putnam County. We do have a paramedic and EMT program, and we thought our students would enjoy the opportunity to intern or be student employees in that department. The way that it works is we post our jobs on our employee website for student employment opportunities. We would work with you, Mr. Suggs, or Commissioner Turner, or whoever, to put together a brief job description and a job posting. We would co-interview all of the students that you all select to interview, and then we'd put them to work. We'd sign a contract of employment agreement and put them to work and agree on a set number of hours. And we'd check on them from time to time and find out how their experience is going. It's really that simple. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I'd like to be the first commissioner to tell Commissioner Harvey, thank you for this, and we appreciate another partnership with the St. John State College. We have many, many different ones, so thank you for this. And Terry, we're gonna make this happen, correct?
Yes, sir, we'll sure give it our best shot, you can bet.
Thank you, sir, I appreciate it. Yes, Commissioner Rawls?
So, thank you and thank you. What about adding in a fire component where you have the fire education component? Because what's lacking in our county, to be quite frank with you, is dual certified individuals. Having a paramedic is awesome, and it's a huge need. But one of the challenges that we face is when you have a fire, you send an ambulance there, the paramedic and EMT, if they're not fire certified as well, cannot actively fight fire. Or if you have a really bad mass casualty incident and a fire truck pulls up and you have a firefighter on the truck that's not an EMT or a paramedic, they can't participate. So personally, I think we need to go dual certified to alleviate a lot of the anxiety and problems that we're having right now, but that would be a component the college would have to add in there is the fire training curriculum. And you know, to be quite frank with you, there is an associate's degree offered in Florida for fire service. So I would encourage you to take a look at possibly adding that into your repertoire of classes and realizing it's a critical need for this county.
Mr. Harvey?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the kudos that President Pickens gave to me, but truly, honestly, it was an idea that came out of some classes that I took through Florida Association of Counties and heard from my fellow counterparts throughout the state that this happened. And because they were like, how many assistants do you have? I have 4. And I'm like, we have none, except for the help that our staff that we can, and they're, as you heard, worked a lot. So President Pickens, you and Dr. Evans were so generous to meet with me. And, you know, I look forward to it. I look forward to our finance department. There might be someone that you have that's interested in government finance. God forbid that's a weird object, but you know, it's there and it's needed, and we could easily plug somebody in there, assistant to us to do research. I think this is it's gonna make a better government all the way around. So thank you all so much for always having your door open to me and one phone call away, and I greatly appreciate it. Ms. Stokes, I look forward to working with you also. Thank you.
President Pickens, before y'all sit down, could we bother you for a photo opportunity?
Can't stand by your butt. I was trying to hold my breath the whole time.
We need a motion for D, right?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Mr. Harvey?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move item D for approval, emergency services and student employment off-campus agreement.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, next is the code enforcement. Mitri, you want to come up? Commissioner Goddard has requested a 5-minute break, so we're gonna take it.
A 4 minute and 37 seconds.
And request for code case 2007-714. Property owners are Myro Bartolom. Property address is 113 5th Street, East Palatka, Florida. The property was cited for unsafe structure and care of premises. The original fine amount is $25,352. Give you a little bit of case history. Case started back in June 2007. After non-compliance for several years, county abated the violations in 2011. Demo permit was completed with final inspection on March 9, 2011. New owner Myra Bartolom purchased property in October 2019. Mr. Bartolom has requested fine reduction right after receiving the new owner letter. My recommendation for fine reduction is $4,756, which includes $3,500 in abatement costs, which was the hard cost county had to pay to the contractor for demolition. We also passed out the email which was received afterwards from Mr. Bartolom requesting further reduction, and my response is added on there as well. And they are here if you have any questions
Harvey.
for the property owners.
Thank you, Ms. Chairman. Mitra, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
Because this is going to sound awfully insensitive, and I don't mean that, but the gentleman here in question, didn't he have the opportunity to come and find out what those liens were on that property prior to purchasing that?
He could have. We do have a program which is called Lien Search Program. There is a $35 fee, and a lot of title companies do that. He could have done that, but it's not required. But whenever we do rechecks on our cases and when we notice a new owner, we send them a new owner letter notifying them there is an outstanding court case on the property, and that's how Mr. Bartolom found out about this case.
Well, I understand. It just grieves my heart that you have people that are good, willing people to do something, and had they took a little step further, they would have seen that there was a potential issue here.
Yes, sir.
And the issue truly is hard cost.
Yes,
It's
sir.
not like we can just say, well, we didn't incur these costs, because we did. And even though I want to be as sympathetic as possible, the taxpayers of Putnam County have put out cost here. It's not like we imaginated these numbers. These are true, actual numbers.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your explanation. Thank you, Mr.
Yes,
Chairman.
what I need to ask you is when did Mr. Myro actually purchase the property?
From the property appraiser's record, it was October of 2019.
Okay, so it was after the abatement work was done.
Yes, sir. It was done in 2011.
We've had discussions through the board previously that we realized that it's gonna cost more to abate a piece of property than what possibly the property is worth. We put money in a fund to pay for those abatements out of the sale of the properties that came by, knowing that we're not gonna make money on this. We're gonna lose money on doing some of this. So basically, let me see if I can get this in the correct order. Somebody had a problem.
Yes, sir.
During that time, we abated it because they wouldn't. And we could have either filed for filed for foreclosure, and then we'd have sold it for $500 like we're doing all these other ones.
Yes, sir.
But now, because we actually had somebody come in, and I'm not being critical, please don't take it like that, but now that we've had somebody come in and purchase the property and try to do something with it and make it a homestead or make it something, we're gonna penalize them with the abatement process. I know that's the rules, but, so, I think, commissioners, I think we need to look at this like this could have gone a whole lot worse than this. It could have been that the county ended up owning this piece of property, abating it and everything else, putting it on our list that we have, and selling it for $1,000 or $2 or $3. I don't know that. So, I just think we need to look at this from both directions, what we're trying to do by getting rid of all these properties, and we surely just don't want another one. You know, I just don't know that we don't need to talk about this a little different because of what we've been trying to accomplish lately. Commissioner Rawls?
I agree wholeheartedly. I think at this point, it's about cleaning up the county. Mr. Myro should have been responsible enough to do a title search. He would have seen the lien and maybe wouldn't have bought the property. One question I have is, what is the taxable assessed value of the dirt right now?
You mean
What's the property assessment?
property value? I'm not sure about that.
Can they come up and speak?
Do you know the property value right now?
Okay.
Come up here, please.
I was gonna call them next, but that's fine, they can come up now.
I personally, I'm leaning the same direction as Commissioner Turner. I think that we need to be creative in the way we look at these cases. You guys are coming in from out of county, looking to make an investment in our community. I would preface this by saying, I hope you don't put a mobile home on there. Please do not put a mobile home on there, but I would like to see the property improved to where it comes up significantly more in tax value, rather than sitting as a vacant piece of dirt right now. And Commissioner Turner's right, we do have, and we made an investment in the property to get it cleaned up. If it had been handed over to us, we would have put it on a list of properties to sell anyway. So I personally am in favor of reducing the fine further if the other commissioners are.
Commissioner Pickens?
I agree with Chairman Turner and Commissioner Rawls and Commissioner Harvey. This is a rock and a hard place here because we have incurred those costs. But you're correct, is that we have the money invested in it. And if somebody hadn't bought it, where would we be? But also, we need to watch out. People need to do their due diligence when they start buying these properties. That they can just say, well, we'll go down to the commissioners, and they'll cut this in half. So I think discussion is needed. I'd like to hear from y'all also. But I'm not in disagreement of reducing it. I'm not in agree to go to the $1,000. I'll tell you that right now. But so that's all I got right now.
Commissioner Goddard, would you like to speak before Myro?
Hi, I'm looking at this. Our abatement cost was a dead cost of $3,500. I mean, that's a dead cost. But we also, at the same point, are looking at getting a lot of these properties abated. So I don't know if we shouldn't look at maybe even splitting the cost of that with them and not put the full burden on them.
I'm okay with whatever y'all want to do. Let's let the Myros speak now. If you'd
Okay.
like to speak, go
Thank you.
ahead.
Yeah, I think you covered everything that we wanted.
Okay.
We're new on this and we didn't know that we have to do so. Now we know that we have to check for liens first on every property. I just purchased one in East Palatka on Granada Street, and luckily it didn't have any liens attached. So he thought he was going to do the same thing, but surprise, surprise. So we appreciate really any reduction that you can do on that. We're willing to meet you on this.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'm guilty. I don't make my homework.
It's okay. It's
I
okay.
learned it.
Papa.
I learned it. Thank you.
Okay, yes, Commissioner Harvey?
You know, I don't want to, I see how this conversation's going, and I really appreciate it. I think the county is moving in the right direction now with these properties. I do think the previous boards, probably in their defense, the only avenue or the only thought they had was to abate them and clean them up, and that produced a hard cost. I get all that. I think this board is a lot more willing to go, do we really want to abate a piece of property we want to sell and get rid of and let them clean it up? I like where we're going now, but abatement was a tool that was used years ago.
Yes, sir.
And it's still there. I want to be as sympathetic and I want to be as helpful, and I want to move this county forward and clean this area up. And I think now we're not going to see some of these cases come up because we're going to avoid abatement as much as possible. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know I rambled, but
Oh, it's fine, and it is a difficult place to be. I totally agree. I mean, you want to do the right thing, but part of the right thing is that you don't give away county funds. But we've got an active program in the county that Commissioner Goddard started about a year or so ago, and that we've been very diligent in trying to get a lot of these excess properties sold, and a lot of them that needed abatement, we're either going to clean them up or sell them, and they have to abate them within a certain amount of time if they buy them. And so, you know, it's just, I don't know that the direction of the county, and it looks to me like this has happened exactly like it was supposed to all the way through, because number one, if there'd have been a $3,500 or a code enforcement fine of whatever this is on that piece of property, $25,352, then the county would own it. Because wouldn't nobody do anything with it. We'd have to turn around and sell it and get $1,000 for it or get whatever. This commissioner, I'm with Commissioner Pickens. I don't know that we can go all the way down to $1,000, but I kind of like Commissioner Goddard's idea here that if we split the abatement cost with him or something. But I think only because of what we're trying to do to get rid of these properties and clean these properties up is the only reason that I would be for reducing it some, for sure. Commissioner Rawls?
I'd like to offer a motion if one's in order.
Yes, sir.
Make a motion that we reduce the fine.
Just a second. Do I have to ask for public comment or just the applicant comment on the code case? Just applicant comment? Okay, sorry, Commissioner Rawls, go ahead.
I'd offer that we reduce the fine to $2,375.
$2,375. Do I have a second?
Well, before we go for, how'd you come up with that number?
Split the whole thing in half.
You're gonna have to
Split the
second it,
whole
and then
thing
we
in
can have the discussion, if you're interested.
Yes, I'll second it.
Okay, I have a second now under discussion. Did you have any questions,
No,
Commissioner?
I was curious how he came up with that one. I was not there. I was actually gonna drop off, and reduce it down to 3,000, so, that was.
Well, do you have a heartburn with the 2375?
No, I don't have a heartburn because I wanna see these properties improve, so no, I don't have a heartburn.
All right, good to hear. Are you okay with that, Commissioner Pickens? I know I'm polling the board, but I'm asking.
Yeah, I'm good.
Vote if you go.
I could poll in a public meeting. Okay. Is there any, yes, Mitra?
Are we allowing them 90 days to pay as we do usually?
Yes. Do you give
Is 90 days enough?
Is 90 days long enough for y'all to take care of this? Okay, the motion is that we're gonna reduce it to $2,375, and you'll have 90 days to pay it. That good? Okay. All right. If there's any further discussion, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, the next one is Code Case 1654, Mr. Key, 125 Tanner Terrace.
That's right.
Mitra.
Give you a little bit of case history on this case. As you all recall, Mr. Key had come up to you all in a workshop on January 14, 2020, requesting a partial release on this property, which was denied. Next day, Mr. Key met with the staff, and he pulled a demolition permit for the unsafe structure, which was built without a permit back in 2015. Mr. Key also pulled a roof permit, and the permit is active. I believe the final inspection is done on that permit as well. As of right now, that structure is not unsafe anymore. That's why we're here for the fine reduction. Original amount was $22,350. My staff recommendation is $893.
Okay, so both pieces of property now in compliance?
Only one property had violation. The other one is his primary residence where he lives. Yes, sir.
I got you. So everything's good now?
Yes, sir.
All right.
And Mr. Key is here if
Key,
you have.
would you like to speak, or? That was a silly question, wasn't it? You can't never get a lawyer not to speak.
We're charged by the word, I believe. John Key, 119 Tanner Terrace. Yes, I just want to, I guess, give a shout out to the code and their staff. They've been very, very diligent in working with me to try to get me to where I need to be. and also to the commissioners for entertaining this from the get-go. So I'm in complete agreement with the staff recommendation. I would urge the board to adopt the staff recommendation.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A happy
Jim.
fine payer, that's not very common.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion
Yes, sir.
that we approve fine reduction on Codes Case 2016-0054 for $893 and paid in 90 days.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, ayes have it, motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mitra. Number 9, Clerk of Court, y'all have anything for us today, Kenny?
No, we do not. Mr. Smith's at the winter conference, and there, and I'm here, and we thank y'all for what you do.
Thank you, sir. Before we go into appointments, first off, I received an application, and let me find it in my packet here, because I've got to turn it in to Sarah as part of the meeting. Mark Lenaday has asked to be placed on as a consumer representative on the Contractors Building and Trades Board. I'd like to make that nomination as chair, and here it is right here, Sarah. And if we could get a motion.
I'll motion that.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed, ayes have it. Now, there's been 2 people on the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee that are at the end of their term. The banking representative and the advocate of low-income persons, Paula Nichols and Jamie Taylor. They've contacted Laura Parsons and said that they would be interested in continuing on. It's time that this commission had the discussion on applications. Do y'all want to start watching people drop off your committees because you're asking them after being on the committee for a while that they have to fill out an application to be reconsidered for a committee? Or do you just want to watch them start falling off? Because some people may take that wrong. So I think we need to have that discussion today. And new members I can understand, but even that's going to hurt a little bit. But reappointments, I don't know. I don't know that I can go there. So we've got 2 of them right here that want to get on. I don't know that we've asked them to go fill out an application yet, have we, Laura? You didn't tell them to go fill one out, did you? Yeah. Commissioner Pickens?
Yeah, I don't have a problem, and I think we probably should have in the policy that we have in place to fill it out for a new person interested in serving on one of these committees. But I do not believe that we need to ask somebody who has served their term or even fulfilled a term where they have gotten nominated when somebody dropped off to fill out one of these forms. I just don't think it's necessary.
Okay. Commissioner Rawls?
I can get there. I actually reached out to Mark Lennon and asked him to fill out the application so he could be considered. I didn't know if it was appropriate for me to toss him out there as an appointment, but I think if we drew a line in the sand and say from this day forward, anybody new that wants to be on the committee to be considered, do the same thing that Mark did, go online, fill out the application, and then if there's any requirements, like they have to be a registered voter, I think it would be prudent that we make the staff responsible for following up prior to being reappointed, or that they make sure that they're still registered as a voter in the county. So they haven't moved to St. Johns County, but they still want to participate in one of our boards. That would be simple.
Sounds reasonable.
That would be it.
Larry Harvey, Commissioner Harvey, excuse me.
Thank you. You know, looking at this form, and I can get there also, and Commissioner Rawls, you're right. I don't know why we need to ask the question, are you a registered voter, but I don't have a problem with it. But some of these appointments are district specific, and some people think they live in certain districts and they don't. And there's got to be a way to police that. And there was a recent appointment that I was going to make, and you know, they insisted that they lived in my district, but once they found out they didn't, I didn't have an appointment to make. Now, who do I say, take their word for it? I mean,
We'll pass them on to the next commissioner.
well, people just move around. Yeah, we can do that. That's not a problem, but we have to do it in a meeting.
If that person is available, in other words, they may not be
They
a
might not have
district
them,
appointment
right.
for the other district. And
Yeah.
so, I'd have to ask, Colonel Commando this one, but if someone turned in an application to me to serve on a committee and that they were, and it was a district appointment, would it be, and I found out it was in Commissioner Harvey's district, could I give that application back to Laura and let her give it to him if there was an available spot, or do I need to do it in a public meeting to keep from violating sunshine?
You just give it to Laura and, ask them either their options are because they don't live in the district, they no longer qualify, that's considered reservation of the seat. And I think at that point, somebody needs to inquire to determine if they want to continue to serve. And if they do, and there's a vacancy, then you proceed accordingly.
Sounds reasonable to me. Commissioner Pickens, would you make your idea of motion, please, sir?
I'll make the motion that we require new candidates to fill out the appropriate forms and present them to the county before they're considered to fill a position. And then anybody that's a renewal is exempt from the application.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I thought we were going to look at if they were district-specific. So is there a caveat in there that staff would be looking at to make sure that Mr. Deloach, who's reapplying, still lives in that district, or is that?
We need to be vetted at some point.
Yeah, I think that's what we need to do, and not necessarily part of this motion, but just
Okay.
instruct staff when
Yep.
we do get, and when somebody's up for appointment. Laura's been doing excellent because she's taken it on herself to go and check on these people and reach out to them and ask them, do they want back on, which is without being told. I mean, I appreciate her taking that advancement in this. So, I think if she continues on what she's doing, which is trying to vet them, make sure they're in the proper district, if they're still living in the district, or if they're at-large, that they still live in the county, or what have you.
That they meet the criteria. 'Cause we
Right.
have a few, what brought up the voting thing, and as far as I know, it's the only committee, is the TDC. The TDC has a requirement that they be a registered voter in the county.
Yep.
That's the only one, but, somebody's gotta vet them.
Well, you're right, and so at this point, I think Laura's been doing a wonderful job, and so, do you want to toot her horn a little louder, or are you just trying to take my time up in the meeting?
No, sir, I gotta ask a question. When you say new applications only for new appointments, what about those that are leaving one committee to go to another committee? We need to know if they qualify.
Yes, I think that would qualify as a new application. If they're leaving one committee to go to another, they're new to that committee, and they have to fill one out. But I'm not trying to put anything in Commissioner Pickens's motion.
And if I could say one other thing too, it also gives staff their phone number, their
Yes.
email address, their mailing address. I've gotten a complaint recently from Dave McKinney. He said, am I still on the committee? I said, yeah, why? And he said, I'm not getting anything. I'm like, really? Have you updated your information? Has anything changed? He said, no. I said, all right, well, contact Laura, make sure she has all your contact info. But it would, in their own words, it would put their contact information out there, and if something went awry, it's their responsibility.
Okay, so your motion stated from this day forward, if you get on another committee or a new committee, then, no, it didn't say that, a new committee.
You
day
fill
forward.
it
So
out.
how would you like to handle
If
it?
you're continuing on the same committee, we can put in there, if they're switching from one committee to the other, that they have to fill out they have to fill out a form.
Okay, you good with that?
Yes, sir, we are. We'll assist them with it. We'll help them out as much as possible. I think it's good to have updated information as often as possible.
Maybe we call
so
it an
that'd be
update
good.
form.
Okay, so we have the motion clear, sir, you think? Okay, and with that, I'll call a question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries. Okay, with that changing, can I nominate Jamie Taylor for banking and Paula Nichols for advocate of low income on the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee? Give me a motion.
I'll make the motion that we nominate Jamie Taylor from banking and Paula Nichols, advocate for low-income persons.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Does one of them live in District 5, or is these appointments we're filling?
They're not, well, I don't know that,
They're
but
at large.
They're at large.
they're both at-large positions.
Paula Nichols is
Right,
District
that's why
1.
we had to-
But it says in parentheses, must reside in district.
Where? No,
That's only,
that's
that's only.
just for the bottom two, District 2 and District 5.
Oh.
There's 4 vacancies
Okay,
right now.
okay, I'm sorry. Okay, good, thank you. 5, okay. Okay.
Good-
Okay,
Good now?
yeah, I'm good, thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, motion carries.
Can I ask a question? What is the roles and responsibility of this committee?
Of the affordable housing?
Yes.
It's on our list in our,
What do they, what
Mostly like the SHIP program.
is the SHIP program? Because I asked somebody that was on this, and they said it is a SHIP program.
It's an advisory committee that has to review the LHAB annually, or I'm
Okay.
sorry, every 3 years, and they have to make a recommendation to you and to approving the LHAB.
Okay, has this committee been meeting at all, or they have been? What actions are they taking or not taking with regards to SHIP?
Usually their actions, I don't want to speak for what they're actually doing, but it's normally just to make sure that the plan that's presented to you conforms with what Florida Housing's requirements
Could
are.
y'all possibly come up with the minutes of the last meeting and get a copy of them to Commissioner Rawls? And if that doesn't give him the information he needs, if you'll bring it back, we'll help you run it down even further.
Yeah, I'd like to get involved in this and see what we can do to help
Yes, sir.
get some of that SHIP money on the street.
Thank you for doing that. Okay, does anybody have any additional appointments? Commissioner Pickens,
I have none.
Commissioner Harvey,
I have none.
Commissioner Goddard,
I have none.
Commissioner Rawls.
I have none.
Okay. County Administrator comments.
Very brief this morning, Mr. Chairman, just a reminder, you all got your email update. There will be from a request from Congressman Yoho. I'm sorry, put my microphone. Request from Congressman Yoho to host a meeting here in Putnam County on March 9th. I believe that's a Monday at 9 a.m.
Okay, thank
As soon as
you.
I get an agenda from his office, we'll post it. It's a request for their meeting, so all we'll be doing at this point in time is advertising it to make sure we stay within the requirements of the sunshine.
Okay, thank you. Colonel Commando, you have any comments additional?
Just happy Mardi Gras, other than that, no.
Happy Mardi Gras.
Yeah, today's Mardi Gras.
Commissioner comments, we'll start with Commissioner Rawls,
I have none.
Commissioner Goddard.
Well, my only comment is the bass tournament, I thought it was pretty neat. It's, even with the 2 days of hold-off because of the winds, they still did very, very well here. It was very good for our county. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Goddard. Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do want to give kudos to our staff, Jim and Laura, and I think it's Julianne working with Facebook. It was really good to start seeing information getting out. There's some time constraints on Facebook. We learned that if we would have noticed it from 9 to noon, we'd have still be sitting here. So there's some things that they're working out, but I tell you, it's really good to get the proper information out to the public, and I want to thank you for that. And even though I was in a meeting with MSBU, I was able to send those minutes over and the pictures, and that'll be making it, and that's just really good that we're able to get that out. I think, Bob, you're in the back, you can hear me. I had a situation this week where a person contacted me and I said, you need to email me. They emailed me And then they contacted me that they didn't want their email to be public. I don't know how to respond to constituents, you know, if they don't want their information public. And we can talk on the phone, yeah, but they didn't know it was a very lengthy conversation. I said, the best thing you could do is email me. And then all of a sudden, I don't want it to be out there. Well, I don't know how our constituents communicate with elected officials.
I don't know how you could keep that.
I
though,
don't know.
'cause that'd be a direct violation of sunshine if you hid that email address from the public after they sent it to you on your county website.
Bob, is there a way that because I've changed my modus of operation. I'm not gonna say, here's my email. I'm gonna ask them to go to the county website and email me through that. Is there a disclaimer that we can put on? No?
We put a disclaimer on every email that goes out.
Yeah, but they've already got it by that
It's
time.
public record.
I know,
It's all public record.
I know, but they don't, some people.
Even the fact that they talk to you on the phone, we don't have to record the content, but the fact you talk to them on the phone is
It's public record.
technically public record. Somebody just has to ask for it the right way.
Yeah, I know.
If they don't want to communicate in a public fashion, then you guys just need to meet up on a back road, do the fancy handshake. And
No, I don't want to do that.
Can you show me the fancy handshake above the podium?
I don't know what else to say. I mean, it
Remember,
is
the
what it is.
camera's always watching. So.
That's why you have to go to the forest.
Okay.
There really is no straight answer that says, oh, you can do this and you're protected from that. It's public
Well,
record.
I didn't know if there was something on the website. If we said, go through our website and maybe a disclaimer sitting there, if you hit on the email, it's going to become part of public record. Know that.
I believe there is something out there.
Okay.
If not, we'll check and make sure it is out there.
Okay. I felt bad. I mean, I can't unring a bell that's already been rung.
And in this day and age, just, create a new email and use it once and don't use it again. I mean,
Okay.
they're not watching enough NCIS, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, and I want to bring
Chances
to
are
mind,
that-
thank you, Bob, I appreciate that. I want to bring out something that happened a few weeks ago at a meeting. We were basically not condemned, but challenged to get our agendas out a week prior to these meetings. You know, when I became chairman, and then when Commissioner Goddard and Commissioner Pickens, and now with you, Commissioner Turner, we've had these agendas out a week prior. We've made that. I went back and I started digging in my OCD habits at 2 o'clock in the morning because you can't sleep, and you get worried that you're not doing what the public needs you to do. And I started noticing we're out there. We've been out. Now, we all agreed a few years back that there's going to be situations that arise within that week's time. There's emergencies that have to come up. There's addendums that need to be done. There's some things that come up the day of the meeting. We got to deal with it. We get that. But I just want the public to know that we have strived for many, many years, all the chairmen that have been sitting up here, to get those agendas out a week prior so the public has their information. And do want to say Azalea Festival is coming up very soon, and be a part of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. Commissioner Pickens?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Turner. Just want to commend Commissioner Harvey for his work with President Pickens and Ms. Calkins Stokes at the college to get that relationship going, because anything we can do with the college is just a win-win for the county. Also, I was honored to be able to speak to the Crescent City Rotary Club last Tuesday night. And Julianne, I used your project list for a lot of my 15 minutes they allotted me. And they were very impressed with the information I was able to give them. And I want to thank you and Laura and Jim Troiano. He attended and took some pictures, so that was on Facebook of me speaking there. So I just want to thank the Rotary Club for allowing me to do that. And I just want to say, as a commissioner, this whole board and staff is concerned with the situation with the EMS and the firefighting service, and we're very aware. We're probably aware more now in the last year than before. And this situation didn't happen overnight, and I'm not going to use a cliche of we can't fix it overnight either. But we're going to address this. I don't want everybody I wish the firefighters were still here, but people will go back and watch this. We get about 50 hits on each meeting that we have. And word circulates, but we're going to discuss this afternoon, and I hope it's a really good discussion. And yes, we did vote to hire an outside firm, and I hope we probably will move forward with that. But it's more than just these hospital runs that they're talking about. The whole thing needs to be looked at, and I want every EMS, every firefighter, and every citizen of Putnam County to understand that we are going to address this, and we're going to get this problem fixed as soon as we can. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Pickens. And I think that everything that I was gonna say today's been covered right down to the Azalea Festival. So, with that being said, if there's no more business to come before the board, meeting adjourned.
Ball game for Saturday.